Chapter 1. Traversing the tomb-robbing world. The thunderous roar of an engine echoed in Su Ping's ears, followed by a cloud of dust swirling in the air. He coughed, awakening from his weary slumber. The unfamiliar surroundings left him momentarily stunned. Before him lay a broad street, where a dilapidated bus passed, kicking up a haze of dust that lingered in the atmosphere. Surrounding him were quaint vintage cars from the bygone era, while two children clad in bright red cotton jackets frolicked and chased each other across the street. He found himself seated on an old flatbed tricycle, alongside a pile of cassette tapes and a man. The man was dressed in a green, vintage work uniform, with a light yellow military bag tossed beside him. He had a lean physique and exuded an air of competence, yet bore a reckless demeanor. The tricycle was piloted by a stout individual, robust and rotund, clad in outdated denim attire and sunglasses, his flowing locks giving him a rather dubious appearance, suggesting he was not a virtuous character. There were no towering skyscrapers, no vibrant nightlife, only the palpable essence of the 1970s and 80s. How'd I end up here? Su Ping pondered, his expression a portrait of bewilderment. He was merely an excavator operator who, during a construction project, unearthed an ancient tomb filled with relics. While investigating, he was ambushed by an unknown entity and awoke to find himself in this peculiar place. At that moment, a torrent of memories surged into his mind, akin to a relentless river. He had traversed realms of rebirth of sorts, with his memories now awakened. As the fragments of his past coalesced, the environment around him grew increasingly clear. His grandfather was an ordinary Taoist priest from Longhu Mountain, who, amidst the chaos of war, descended the mountain with unwavering resolve to save others, becoming a warlord. Before the founding of the nation, the Taoist master fled, yet his grandfather chose to retreat back to the mountains for spiritual cultivation. Both his parents were soldiers, tragically sacrificing their lives in battle when he was merely 2 years old. Subsequently, he lived with his grandfather on Longhu Mountain, while the Taoist master evaded capture and the Taoist scriptures were destroyed, leading to the decline of Longhu Mountain, which subsequently saw the establishment of numerous schools. Su Ping studied there until he graduated high school. During the Down to the Countryside movement, he ventured to Gag Village, where he befriended Lao Hu and the Stout Man, forging a deep bond as they explored the Yellow Tomb and the Eye Cave together. After his grandfather's passing, he returned to Longhu Mountain to observe the mourning rites, but due to shifting policies, life on the mountain became untenable. He resorted to exploiting his grandfather's reputation, engaging in dubious dealings and guerrilla tactics, merely to survive. Just days prior, Lao Hu had been sent back by the military. Following the reforms, various industries flourished. The three friends devised a plan to become individual business operators. Thus, Lao Hu rejoined him, and together they traveled to Beiping to seek out the Stout Man. Upon reflecting on their situation, Su Ping felt a surge of anxiety. The prospect of becoming a business operator seemed ludicrous to him. This was undoubtedly a prelude to tomb raiding. The terrors lurking within those ancient tombs could frighten anyone to death. He could sugarcoat it as the way of fire, but in truth, it was nothing more than the work of a charlatan. Lao Hu and the rotund man engaged in tomb raiding, relying solely on their fortuitous luck. They were blessed with the aura of protagonists. What do I possess? Merely a life to excavate, yet no fortune to utilize. Venturing forth would be akin to offering my head on a platter. In that moment, Su Ping felt an overwhelming urge to leap from the tricycle and flee. Calm down, he reminded himself. After all, I'm a transmigrator. According to the process, Su Ping's mind raced through every transmigration novel he had perused in his past life. The answer was singular. System, come forth. I know you were there. Silence ensued. What the hell? Could it be that even the system was absent? With such luck in tomb raiding, was I not destined for a mere handout? Perhaps my approach was flawed. Upon returning to the modest rental abode of the rotund man, they tidied up briefly before heading to Dongxi for hot pot. Throughout the journey, Su Ping attempted various methods to communicate with the system, yet received no response. He resigned himself to his fate. No system, so be it. I could forego tomb raiding and, with my familiarity with history, thrive in this era where even swine could soar. Waiter, bring the dishes. 6 bottles of beer, the rotund man proclaimed, gesturing grandly when the waiter approached. The waiter replied, certainly. Su Ping, feeling inspired, called out, "2 more bottles of Niulan Mountain." Lao Hu looked at Su Ping in astonishment, exclaiming, "Oh, White Plus beer, old Su. It has been years, and your drinking capacity has improved remarkably." With a grand sweep of his hand, Su Ping declared, "Brothers, it is a rare reunion. Let us indulge." Lao Hu laughed heartily. "All right then. None of us shall return sober. You've all come today. Fat Master is in high spirits." The waiter presented 3 bottles of beer, and as the rotund man opened them, he boasted, "Let loose a bit, Fat Master is not short of this little coin." Though he spoke thus, Su Ping knew better. Business was tough, and the rotund man had many tapes unsold. With little money in his pockets, a classic case of a struggling entrepreneur. However, for both of them, money would not be a future concern. Once he earned, he would not neglect his friends. Su Ping felt justified in his feasting. 3 plates of lamb rolls, pork, duck blood, bean curd sheets, and meatballs, 2 of each. 1 portion each of cabbage, tofu, artemisia, enoki mushrooms, lettuce, and bean sprouts. And, listening to Su Ping's extravagant ordering, the rotund man felt overwhelmed. "Brother, I told you to loosen up, but you truly have gone overboard." He then patted his pocket, uncertain if his funds would suffice. "Order the spicy pot, the extremely hot kind." Su Ping requested numerous dishes, deliberately omitting beef and dog meat. At Long Hushin, there were 4 things they abstained from, among which were beef and dog meat. The rotund man took a deep breath, feeling as though he were on the verge of asphyxiation. After feasting to their heart's content, the rotund man approached the cashier, only to be nearly incapacitated by the bill. 38. The waiter looked at him in admiration, wondering what kind of family would dare to eat in such a manner. After settling the bill, the trio exited the hot pot restaurant, colliding with 3 individuals emerging from the meat shabba shop across the street. 2 men and 1 woman, one of the men being a foreigner. The stout man's expression shifted dramatically upon sighting them, a fierce glint igniting in his eyes as he exclaimed, "At last, I have caught this scoundrel." Old Hu, perplexed, inquired, "Which scoundrel are you referring to?" "The one with the golden teeth." The stout man pointed at the individual with the golden teeth, indignation evident in his voice. "Did I not inform you all? He is the one who deceived me regarding the jade." At that moment, Su Ping's attention was wholly captivated by the piece of jade clutched in the foreigner's hand. Upon gazing at the jade, he was struck by an uncanny sense of familiarity, reminiscent of a relic he had unearthed in a past life while operating an excavator. It bore an astonishing resemblance, strikingly so. Suddenly, within his mind, it felt as though a film were rewinding, transporting him back to the moment he first discovered this jade. In that instant, the jade radiated a golden light, which ultimately penetrated his eyes. When he regained his senses, the world before him had transformed entirely. Chapter 2. I can duplicate talent attributes. As Su Ping observed the individuals surrounding him, he was utterly astonished to find that each of them bore a line of minuscule text hovering above their heads. Neither Old Hu nor the rotund gentleman was exempt. Even the waiter was ensnared in this peculiar phenomenon. Initially, Su Ping entertained the notion that he might be mistaken, so he rubbed his eyes vigorously, only to discover that the diminutive words above these individuals remained resolutely visible. A fusion of astonishment and elation enveloped him, and his countenance radiated palpable excitement. Could this truly be his remarkable gift? How was he to harness this newfound prowess? He observed that, despite the text being exceptionally diminutive, nearly undetectable, his concentrated attention appeared to amplify the words, rendering them more discernible. The individual nearest to him was Old Hu. Talent attribute: Feng Shui secrets, blue. Leadership ability, blue. Copying conditions: peruse half a volume of Feng Shui secrets once. Copying effect: assuredly enables the successful replication of one of the 2 attributes. Drawing upon his extensive experience as an avid reader, Su Ping surmised that the Feng Shui secrets must be an intrinsic attribute. The azure designation signified Old Hu's current level of proficiency in this skill. The hierarchy of levels, ascending from the lowest to the highest, was delineated as white, green, blue, purple, orange, and red. Old Hu had yet to encounter numerous ancient tombs, and therefore lacked practical experience, relying solely on theoretical knowledge. Thus, it was hardly astonishing that his skills were classified as blue quality, despite both attributes being of blue caliber. It was abundantly clear that the feng shui secrets attribute was considerably more formidable than the leadership ability attribute. Having studied various feng shui techniques at Longhu Mountain, Su Ping had amassed a fragmented assortment of knowledge, sufficient to impress and mislead the average individual, yet woefully inadequate for actual tomb raiding, which left him quaking at the thought. He contemplated whether the true lineage of these secrets had been irrevocably lost, perhaps due to the enigmatic disappearance of the celestial masters. Was it genuinely as straightforward as perusing old whose feng shui secrets to subsequently replicate either the feng shui secrets or leadership ability attributes? Upon further contemplation, although the prospect of mirroring attributes appeared impressive, he would still need to acquire them. This posed a rather vexing dilemma. If only he could also emulate old whose experiences. That would be the epitome of perfection. As the adage goes, among the myriad professions, tomb raiding reigns supreme. There exists scarcely a swifter avenue to amass wealth than through the art of tomb raiding. His attention shifted to the rotund gentleman, and, as he focused, the attributes hovering above the portly man's head came into view. Talent attribute: marksmanship blue, fated one blue. Copying conditions: the rotund gentleman must disregard counsel and find himself in life-threatening peril. Copying effect: guaranteed to replicate marksmanship, or a 10 chance to replicate fated one. This remarkable ability seemed rather lackluster. Not only did it merely duplicate attributes, but it also encompassed probabilistic outcomes. Nevertheless, the appellation fated one resounded with an impressive grandeur, far surpassing old whose rather pedestrian association with feng shui secrets. One might conjecture that the rotund gentleman epitomized the quintessential hero. Undoubtedly, his remarkable fortune was indeed extraordinary. Old Hu, as the central figure, could not possibly be so uninspiring. He might harbor other exceptional qualities yet to be unveiled. After scrutinizing both Old Hu and the portly gentleman, Su Ping's gaze shifted to the formidable presence of Big Golden Tooth. Talent attribute: vision, purple. Business acumen, purple. Conditions for duplication: ruthlessly vanquish the unscrupulous merchant, Big Gold Tooth. Effects of duplication: must emulate one of the attributes, attaining the standard of Big Gold Tooth, specifically of purple quality. The duplication effect of Big Gold Tooth is indeed remarkable. It not only replicates the talent, but also confers the current experience. A splendid buy one get one free offer. The effect is undeniably remarkable. Is this not exactly what we long to behold in Lao Hu and Fatty? A mere glance at Big Gold Tooth, followed by a look at Lao Hu and Fatty, renders them utterly uninspiring. In this age, wealth reigns supreme. Imitating the entries of Lao Hu and Fatty may not guarantee prosperity. However, successfully emulating Big Gold Tooth's talent entry will undoubtedly lead to immense riches. The opportunity to outmaneuver Big Gold Tooth lies directly before us. Fatty, incensed, was on the verge of confronting Big Gold Tooth when Lao Hu restrained him. Observe me. There is no need for aggression. With that, Lao Hu and Fatty approached, while Su Ping quietly picked up a nearby brick and concealed it behind him. As the trio advanced, Lao Hu feigned for an extended period, yielding no results. Su Ping felt an overwhelming sense of frustration. While many resigned themselves to the inevitability of being deceived in the realm of antiques and calligraphy, Big Gold Tooth's hubris is simply intolerable, a flagrant exhibition of intimidation. How dare he overstep boundaries? Who among us is devoid of temper? Furthermore, he is a Taoist. In tumultuous times, a Taoist descends from the mountain, while a Buddha retreats into solitude. What, I wonder, might a provoked Taoist undertake? Ascending to the status of a local warlord is a trivial endeavor. Yet, one must also relish the chance to impart a lesson. Suddenly, he brandished the brick concealed behind him, rolled up his sleeves, and cheerfully demanded, "Pray tell, will you return it or not? Oh, do you presume that numerical superiority renders you formidable?" Big Gold Tooth, with an air of nonchalance, scrutinized Su Ping, proclaiming, "Let me enlighten you. Once goods are entrusted to my possession, they shall never depart at the same price. I, Gold Tooth, am a merchant, not a benefactor. The police station lies not far away. Do you dare to take action?" Huh? Dare you even attempt to see something from me? Come forth, shatter it. Proceed and shatter it here. The boastful big gold tooth gestured towards his own head. We would never. Lao Hu waved his hand, enjoining Su Ping to maintain his composure while seeking to negotiate a return at the original price. Yet, what does it signify to redeem at the original price if not to be exploited? Su Ping unabashedly lifted the brick in his grasp and proclaimed, "You are correct. It is indeed a robbery. What shall you do about it? Do you wish for us to smash it? Is that your desire? Then shatter it. Even if I were to be taken to the police station or met with violence, I would accept it. To rob once would yield a profit. To rob twice would result in considerable gain. To seize an opportunity, one must grasp it resolutely." Lao Hu, standing nearby, was utterly astonished. After all these years, how has Lao Su's disposition become so unpredictable? What audacity! This is the capital, and the police station stands directly across the street. A disagreement could potentially escalate into a brawl. Fatty could not suppress a twinge of admiration. He had long desired to take action, but had been restrained by Lao Hu, lacking the necessary resolve. Who would have imagined that in the end, it would be Lao Su who stepped forward, prepared to risk everything? The genie was taken aback, not anticipating that this rogue would actually dare to strike him. Was he courting death? Very well, I concede. I shall grant you your wish. He hastily raised the jade pendant in surrender. Now, that is more like it. Su Ping scrutinized the pendant before tossing it back to the corpulent man, discarding the brick he had held onto the ground. Successfully dispatched de Genia, initiating the skill copy mechanism. Su Ping's eyes sparkled with anticipation, confident of success, which even came with de Genia's experience. The effect was indeed formidable. A line of small text materialized above de Genia's head. Skill copy. I for detail successfully acquired, along with de Genia's purple quality experience. Your skill level in eye for detail has ascended to purple quality. In the ensuing moment, Su Ping experienced a deluge of information flooding his mind, reminiscent of rivers converging into the ocean. It was replete with knowledge concerning antiques, paintings, and various techniques for appraising antiquities. In that fleeting instant, he felt as though he had metamorphosed into a master appraiser. Everything lay within his purview. He cast another glance at the emerald ring adorning de Genia's hand and instantly recognized its deceit. This swindler was indeed a charlatan. Simultaneously, the text above de Genia's head shifted. Skill. Eye for detail, purple, successfully copied. Business acumen, purple, copying conditions. Thoroughly dispatch the con artist de Genia, copying effect. Enhances your eye for detail skill or copies the business acumen skill, elevating it to de Genia's level, achieving purple quality. Oh, after the act of copying, could he also augment the skill's experience bar by fulfilling the stipulated conditions? Did this imply that Old Hu's feng shui skill and the rotund man's marksmanship skill could also be similarly refined? Concerning the talent of replication. Firstly, numerous readers have conveyed that this is not merely a talent for replication, but rather a mechanism for skill acquisition. For the time being, let us regard it as such. The author may implement substantial revisions in the future, yet if such changes do not occur, this notion will gradually be abandoned. Secondly, the subsequent hues signify the proficiency levels of the individuals, ranked from the lowest to the highest as white, green, blue, purple, orange, and red. Thirdly, upon a successful replication of a skill, the continued fulfillment of the requisite conditions will elevate the skill level and enhance its quality. Fourthly, there exist concealed skills that remain undisclosed, activated in accordance with the narrative, such as the skill possessed by Old Hu. Lastly, due to spatial limitations within the portable realm for replication, provisions will later be made for the protagonist in a distinctive manner. Chapter 3. A serendipitous discovery at Panjiayuan. At first, Su Ping perceived it merely as a casual meal, but unexpectedly encountered a golden opportunity. He had also acquired de Genia's discerning vision. With this newfound ability, thriving in this era would pose no challenge whatsoever. Observing de Genia's retreating silhouette, the portly man, with hands nestled in his pockets, smugly declared, "Old Su, you are indeed exceptional. Unlike Old Hu has succumbed to cowardice." "What do you know?" Old Hu retorted exasperated. You two have instigated trouble. Today, bolstered by our numbers, we seize the jade pendant. Just wait until our paths cross again, and we shall see if you will treat us with kindness. Old Su, you truly must temper that fiery disposition of yours. Else, you shall inevitably encounter grave repercussions. Su Ping grinned and dismissed the concern. What is there to alter? It is not as though I am committing any heinous offenses. To contend with unscrupulous merchants, one must employ shrewd tactics. Had it been in a bygone era, devoid of his serendipitous endowment, he might have wavered. Yet, now that he possessed this gift, any flicker of uncertainty would be tantamount to a slight against it. Furthermore, he was acutely cognizant that even if the infamous big gold tooth were to approach, he would not resort to aggression. In such an eventuality, it would be Big Gold Tooth who would be seeking their counsel. As they meandered down the avenue, the portly one, casually extracting remnants from his teeth with a toothpick, inquired with indifference, "Where shall we three brethren roam today?" Old Hu suggested, "Let us return and deliberate on our future endeavors." To which the rotund one promptly retorted, "That will not suffice. Why the haste? You have journeyed so far. I must ensure your enjoyment. Let us visit the department store. I shall bear all expenses." His words were extravagantly generous. However, the disheveled state of his rented room revealed a stark contrast to his ostentatious claims. Old Hu reflected momentarily before suggesting, "Let us not dwell on it. After several days of travel, both Old Su and I find ourselves quite fatigued. Shall we return and rest? What say you, Old Su?" Both men turned their attentions to Su Ping. At that juncture, Su Ping was surveying the surroundings and inquired, "If memory serves me right, is not Panjiayuan just ahead?" The portly gentleman nodded in astonishment. "Indeed. What of it? Let us proceed. I shall escort you to earn some money." With a flourish of his hand, Su Ping advanced towards Panjiayuan. With his keen eye for discernment, unearthing a few treasures at Panjiayuan was well within his grasp. "Ah, Old Su, you are taking advantage of us," the plump one exclaimed as he hurried to catch up. The trio spent the day wandering through Panjiayuan, and by evening, Su Ping had unearthed 2 treasures, earning 500 yuan. This brought immense joy to Old Hu and the plump one. "Old Su, how impressive! Earning 500 in a single day with such astute perception. We are destined to flourish in the future. Who would still sell those antiquated tapes?" The plump one had suffered considerable losses from selling tapes over the past 2 years and was apprehensive about their future together. Yet now his spirits soared. 500 a day equates to 5,000 a month, and an astounding 100,000 a year. 100,000. He had never dared to dream of such wealth. Goodness, Old Su, you truly are a maestro in your domain. Your expertise in these ancient artifacts is truly remarkable. Old Hu, with a broad grin, remarked, "I dedicated a decade of my life to the army and received a mere 3,000 in severance. You have managed to earn that sum in just a few days. Today was merely a stroke of luck. Such discoveries are not an everyday occurrence." Su Ping waved the substantial bundle of cash in his hand and chuckled, "Come now. It is time for dinner. I shall treat you." In high spirits, the portly one exaggeratedly bowed and said, "Master Su, permit me to pay my respects." Their laughter resonated as they made their way to Dongxing Lu. Dongxing Lu is among the 8 renowned establishments of Beiping, celebrated as the premier restaurant for Shandong cuisine. They indulged in every delicacy they had previously denied themselves: swallow's nest, shark fin, oil-braised prawns, red braised shark fin, and braised sea cucumber. Savoring all the dishes they had once abstained from, they even ordered 2 bottles of Maodai. By 7 or 8 o'clock, the 3 of them had finally quenched their hunger and thirst, departing from Dongxing Tower and returning to their rented lodgings. The portly man rubbed his ample belly, exclaiming with delight, "Ah, what a pleasure! Today has truly been a feast for me." Old Hu could not help but lick his lips, yet he endeavored to maintain his composure, remarking, "We owe this to Old Su. Otherwise, how could we have relished such exquisite delicacies?" "Indeed, indeed," the stout man replied, eagerly rubbing his hands together. "Old Su, let us venture to Panjiayuan tomorrow. Perhaps we might discover treasures once more. Do not hold your breath. It is not so facile to encounter treasures. Countless others have already attained great wealth." As Su Ping articulated, he turned to Old Hu and inquired, "Old Hu, What that half-book passed down through your family. May I peruse it? Here you go, Old Who replied without the slightest hesitation, retrieving a time-worn, yellowed volume from his backpack and presenting it to Su Ping. Su Ping accepted it, casting a cursory glance at the cover, which was boldly emblazoned with 9 prominent characters, The Secret Art of Feng Shui. That evening, while Old Hu and the stout man engaged in casual conversation, Su Ping immersed himself in the tome, aware that a single reading could empower him to replicate Old Hu's extraordinary prowess. Why delay? He must read expeditiously. Each volume of the tome encapsulated a vast reservoir of knowledge, yet it was imbued with complexities and obscurities, particularly within the heavenly volume, wherein every word and phrase demanded meticulous contemplation. Any slight misstep could precipitate misunderstanding or misinterpretation. Furthermore, the text chronicled the authentic experiences of tomb raiders spanning the past 2 millennia, weaving these insights with the principles of Feng Shui to create this comprehensive work. However, this book solely encompassed the art of Feng Shui. The complete edition presumably included the doctrines of Yin and Yang. Yet, due to the potentiality of unveiling celestial secrets and disturbing the equilibrium of fate, Grandfather Zhang had obliterated the teachings of Yin and Yang, preserving only the arcane knowledge of Feng Shui. Despite this, as Su Ping perused the text, he discerned that aside from the passages he comprehended, much remained elusive. He recognized each character, yet the combinations often confounded him. In that moment, he came to the realization that mastering the art of Feng Shui indeed necessitated innate talent. His preliminary studies at Longhu Mountain had merely skimmed the surface. Thank goodness for my golden finger. Otherwise, devoting years to the teachings of this tome might still leave me shrouded in obscurity. He had the ability to replicate the talent attributes. He could also amass experiential knowledge of these attributes. Once he adeptly mirrored Old Hu's attribute, Feng Shui, he simply needed to immerse himself in reading, and reading yet again. Attaining, or even eclipsing Old Hu's prowess would present no formidable challenge. As the night unfolded, both Old Hu and the robust man succumbed to slumber, while Su Ping resolutely pressed on, ultimately completing the book. Successfully replicated the talent attribute. Feng Shui. Your current Feng Shui attribute is of white quality. In the next instant, he acquired Old Hu's talent attribute pertaining to Feng Shui. Suddenly, a multitude of previously perplexing concepts became clear to him. However, the quality remained insufficient. He needed to delve deeper in order to elevate it to the green entry level, or even the blue proficient level. He continued to read, and before he realized it, he had succumbed to slumber. Knock, knock, knock. Open the door, open the door. Upon hearing the voice of Big Gold Tooth, both the stout man and Old Who felt their hearts race with apprehension. Indeed, as I had foreseen yesterday, trouble has arrived at our doorstep. Old Who peered out the window and beheld a group of 7 or 8 burly men stationed outside. It was evident that this rogue had come to seize the jade pendant today. What shall we do now? The rotund man anxiously inquired of Su Ping. Old Su, you were the fiercest yesterday, and they will undoubtedly target you. What's there to panic about? Should the situation demand it, we shall resort to a brawl. Unfazed, Su Ping dressed himself and proceeded to open the door. Chapter 4. The ever-victorious mountain bandits upon the emergence of Su Ping. Big Gold Tooth sneered, Brother, did you revel in the spoils from yesterday? The tides of fortune have shifted. Today, I, Lord Jean, stand before you. Go on, attempt to strike me with a brick once more. Observing that Big Gold Tooth was fixated on Su Ping, the rotund man promptly advanced, proclaiming, Big Gold Tooth, if you harbor grievances, direct them at me. Do not lay a finger on my brother. What worth do you possess? Just yesterday, you and your companions scarcely mustered the courage to utter a word. Emboldened by his numbers, Big Gold Tooth exuded a sense of superiority, asserting, today, not only shall I seize that jade, but we shall also settle accounts for that brick. So what shall it be? Shall we enter your dwelling, or shall we engage outside? Those who dare to pilfer from Lord Jean are courting death. Let the battle commence. Do we fear you, even with 3 of us? Recognizing that the situation could not be amicably settled, the stout man seized a nearby shovel and positioned himself protectively in front of Su Ping, declaring, Rest assured, Old Su, While I stand here, no one shall lay a finger on you." Meanwhile, Big Gold Tooth derisively mocked the stout man's bravado, exclaiming, "What audacity! 8 against 3. And he dares to behave so boldly?" "Chubby, stand aside." Su Ping gently placed his hand on the man's shoulder and approached Big Gold Tooth. "Little Jean." Su Ping examined Big Gold Tooth intently, inquiring, did old Jean ever speak of the Taoist priest from Longhu Mountain? Upon hearing Su Ping's words, Big Gold Tooth, along with old Hu and the portly man, was momentarily taken aback, their gazes converging upon him. Big Gold Tooth knitted his brow, a flicker of cunning illuminating his eyes, and declared, "There is no need for pleasantries. Today, you are obliged to surrender the jade pendant, whether you desire to or not." Su Ping retorted, "Surely you are acquainted with the tomb-raiding master, surnamed Kai, from Hunan?" A profound silence enveloped the room. Big Gold Tooth's eyes widened in disbelief. His father had once been an apprentice to a tomb-raiding maestro named Kai from Hunan, a truth confined solely to those within the profession. He had never revealed this to outsiders. Could it be that Big Gold Tooth's shifty eyes meticulously examined Su Ping? Ultimately resting upon the words elegantly inscribed on the cover of the tome, he clutched Secret Techniques of Feng Shui, the I Ching, and the 8 trigrams. The art of Feng Shui. This individual is a connoisseur of Feng Shui and an adept tomb raider. "Might I inquire your name, esteemed sir?" Big Gold Tooth's demeanor underwent a profound metamorphosis, transforming into one of utmost courtesy. Su Ping. Deducing from the surname, it resonated with that of the Taoist priest previously referenced. Furthermore, he was familiar with the tomb-raiding virtuoso bearing the surname Kai. Could it be that he shares a connection with the master bearing the surname Kai as well? "Ah, so it is Lord Su. May I inquire about your profession?" Ever-victorious peaks, where the righteous bandits convene, the verdant forest reigns supreme, and all corners pay their respects. Alas! Upon hearing Su Ping declare his lineage, the genie was taken aback. The ever-victorious mountain bandits. This individual's ancestors were once mountain kings. No wonder he exudes such arrogance. The ever-victorious bandits possess another identity. They were the most formidable tomb-raiding organization during the Republic of China, boasting a multitude of over 100,000 exhumers. He had once suspected that the tomb raider of the surname Kai was indeed one of those exhumers. The rotund man, looking perplexed, inquired of the nearby Lao Hu. "Lao Hu, what does old Su mean by that?" Lao Hu murmured in response, "This is the vernacular of the underworld. I comprehend only a fragment of it. It appears that old Su alluded to his lineage as bandits." Well, that revelation comes as no astonishment. The corpulent man experienced an epiphany, recognizing the source of old Su's increasingly irascible demeanor. It was evidently inherited. The genia, filled with newfound reverence, swiftly extended an invitation. "Master Su, would you do us the honor of joining us for lunch?" "Certainly." Su Ping nodded in affirmation. Outside, identities are self-assigned. Although Su Ping was not one of his grandfather had engaged in dealings with them, thus establishing a certain connection. The four convened at a mutton hot pot restaurant, where they dined and conversed, with Su Ping enchanting them with his tales, leaving De Jean yet thoroughly impressed. Subsequently, he extended an invitation for them to visit his abode. De Jean's residence was replete with funerary antiques, a dazzling collection that was quite overwhelming. Upon entering, he approached a shelf, retrieved a delicate wooden box, and opened it to unveil 3 golden pouches, bestowing one upon each of Su Ping's companions. Upon opening the pouches, they discovered an ancient artifact with a sharp tip and a tapered base, its surface a lustrous jet black, inscribed with the ancient characters. The stout gentleman inquired with curiosity, "What is this item?" Lao responded gravely, "It is a MJNF. Indeed, Huyi, you are correct. A. The Vigna din projet mit Genthlemen. We are all well-informed individuals, so I shall speak candidly. This is not merely a gift. Rather, I aspire for a long-term collaboration. Your remarkable prowess in tomb raiding is akin to reaching into a pouch, while I possess a network capable of trading funerary antiques and aiding you in their sale. Should you accept this, our partnership shall be forged." Su Ping toyed with it momentarily before casting it onto the table. "Jin Yi, since you desire for us to become. Presenting us with a counterfeit is rather excessive, would you not agree? A genuine would be adorned with golden threads and showcase a ground-penetrating pattern. This imitation is woefully inferior in quality. Oh, Master Su, I did not anticipate your discerning eye to be so astute. De Jinyu was taken aback. Swiftly offering his apologies, please do not take offense. Su Ping settled into the sofa, asserting his demand. Allow me to select one item from your collection, and I shall overlook this transgression. At that moment, it was De Jinyu who found himself in desperate need of their assistance. In the realm of antiquities, one may either indulge in collecting or engage in tomb raiding. These are the sole avenues available. Due to his ailment, De Jinyu could only traverse the landscape in search of antiques, a task both exhausting and, more importantly, not particularly lucrative. Truly valuable artifacts lie concealed within the grand tombs. This is precisely why the astute Golden Tooth is so keen to provoke them into delving into the depths of the tombs. The treasures they unearth from the ancient sepulchres will undoubtedly be liquidated, enabling Golden Tooth to garner a portion of the profits. Even a modest gain far exceeds what he could acquire through legitimate endeavors. It is indeed a propitious moment to exploit their ambitions. After considerable reflection, Golden Tooth clenched his teeth and proclaimed, "Very well. Let us regard this as a gesture of camaraderie." After all, his establishment contained only a handful of authentic artifacts. As a scion of tomb raiders, he was not taken aback by the complexities of the craft of grave robbing. However, the ability to discern antiques is not a skill that can be acquired in a fleeting moment. "All right then, let us forge a friendship," Su Ping exclaimed, rising to his feet and wandering about the room with an air of casualness. The chamber brimmed with antiquities and paintings, interspersed with ancient stones, porcelain, and bronze artifacts. Scattered across the table lay coins and silver ingots. Yet, to Su Ping's discerning eye, they were all mere forgeries. Eventually, he approached a shelf concealed behind a screen, where his gaze fell upon a wooden box. Upon opening it, he uncovered a palm-sized porcelain bowl. "This is the one," he declared, returning with the box in hand. "Ah!" Golden Tooth gasped, his heart seemingly constricted as an immediate sense of foreboding washed over him. Could it truly be this? "Old Su, is this item genuinely valuable?" inquired the corpulent man, craning his neck with palpable curiosity. Su Ping responded with indifference. "It is adequate." "Adequate?" Golden Tooth replied with incredulity. "Master Su, your keen insight is truly remarkable. This porcelain artifact, if introduced to the market, would command no less than 30,000. You! Golden Tooth's eyes lingered wistfully on the porcelain bowl, his heart burdened with remorse. "How much?" The rotund man's tone shifted, infused with astonishment. Even Old Hu's eyes ignited with fervent desire. Chapter 5. Journey to Inner Mongolia. Unveiling the mysteries of feng shui. 30,000, Su Ping replied tersely, casting a sidelong glance at the rotund gentleman. In the realm of grave robbing, such sums are trifling and inconsequential. Oh dear, Master Su. For an expert in tomb raiding such as yourself, these amounts may indeed appear insignificant. Yet for me, they are a priceless treasure. Golden Tooth's laughter carried a hint of melancholy, as if he were being repeatedly pierced by a dagger. Taking a deep breath, he resolutely declared, "Very well. Since you desire it, I shall bestow this upon you. I trust you will support me in the future when you encounter any captivating artifacts." The corpulent man was on the brink of hyperventilation, struggling to contain his exhilaration as he pinched himself to affirm the reality of the situation. An antique valued at 30,000, so generously granted, all in the spirit of cultivating a friendship with Old Su, with the hope of future patronage. How profitable must grave robbing be? Su Ping nudged the porcelain bowl toward Golden Tooth, imploring, "Golden Tooth, I beseech you to accept this. I do not ask for much. Merely 20,000 will suffice, for there are many days to come." "Master Su, you are indeed remarkable," Golden Tooth exclaimed, his eyes glimmering at the sight of the porcelain bowl before him, unable to suppress a gesture of admiration towards Su Ping. In this transaction, he would still garner a profit of 10,000. "Chivalrous indeed. I shall procure the funds for you without delay." As they observed the retreating figure of the man adorned with golden teeth, Both Old Hu and the found themselves enveloped in a haze of astonishment. Is this truly permissible? Despite suffering a loss of 20,000, they felt compelled to express their gratitude towards Old Su, extolling his unwavering loyalty. This is preposterous. I have never beheld such a commercial exchange in my lifetime. In an age when 100 yuan bills had yet to emerge, the highest denomination remained the 10 yuan note, commonly referred to as the Big Unity. 20,000 yuan represented a considerable sum, manifesting as two substantial stacks of cash. Hiss! They gasped in astonishment. He had never before encountered such a vast amount of money. 2,000 large denomination notes. He felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. Old Hu stared at the piles of currency, momentarily entranced. How infuriating it was. After a decade of relentless labor, he had only managed to accumulate 3,000. Yet Old Su, with mere casual utterances, not only indulged in a complimentary meal, but also reaped a profit of 20,000. This society is utterly bewildering. Meanwhile, Su Ping observed the small inscription on the golden-toothed man's forehead beginning to shift. The golden-toothed man's talent attribute, business acumen, has been successfully replicated and elevated to the same caliber as the golden-toothed man's purple quality. Ha! What an extraordinary turn of events. Both of the golden-toothed man's talents, along with their quality, have been successfully assimilated by him. With such remarkable talent, he could undoubtedly secure a stable existence in this era. However, the moment one possesses even a modicum of ability, ambition invariably follows. With a golden opportunity at his disposal, he ought to aspire to more illustrious pursuits. He should not confine himself to the same enterprise as the golden-toothed man. The crimson-haired fiends of Wildman Valley, the languid beasts bearing human visages, the queen of and the ancient deities. So many exceptional attributes await his emulation. He must not perish while clinging to this solitary branch of the golden-toothed man. The crux lies in the fact that replicated attributes can be further enhanced. If he were to replicate the attribute of an ancient deity and elevate it, would that not enable him to utterly surpass the ancient deity? Old Hu, if fortune smiles upon us this time, what do you intend to pursue? On the expansive grasslands of Inner Mongolia, a donkey cart ambled along. An elderly gentleman guided the cart, while 4 individuals, 3 men and 1 woman, were perched upon it. One of the rotund fellows was brimming with enthusiasm, raising his voice to express his aspirations for the future. What shall we do? Engage in meaningful, valuable endeavors. Old Hu replied, adopting a guise of seriousness. Keep pretending. Juan, the portly man, chuckled. If I had the means, I would first indulge for 2 weeks in the 8 great alleys, followed by daily feasts of hot pot and lamb skewers. And what about you, Old Su? Your ambition is sorely lacking. Su Ping, rolling up his book, disdainfully remarked, once I acquire wealth, I shall amass numerous properties in Beiping. That is hardly practical. The rotund man scoffed. Can you possibly inhabit that many houses? Are you planning to take several concubines? That is not entirely out of the question. Su Ping stroked his chin, immersed in deep contemplation. After parting ways with the man bearing the golden tooth, they began to deliberate the tantalizing prospect of grave robbing at the nearby Nyoshin Mountain in Ganganjiangzi. Initially, Old Hu feigned earnestness, displaying reluctance to engage in such an endeavor. However, after concocting a rationale about guiding the villagers toward prosperity, he begrudgingly capitulated. The following day, the trio ventured to the marketplace to procure supplies that were scarce in their village, including watches, radios, and televisions, ensuring they were thoroughly equipped. After acquiring train tickets, they endured a grueling 3-day and 2-night journey, followed by a day aboard a tractor, before finally reaching the banner. In Inner Mongolia, what is designated as a banner is essentially analogous to a county in other regions. Subsequently, they encountered the village accountant, who was attending to business, and they shared a ride back together. Over the preceding days, Su Ping had perused that book over 10 times, adeptly emulating Old Hu's inherent leadership qualities. The principles of feng shui and leadership skills were remarkably evident in his newfound abilities. Yet, this progress was still deemed insufficient. Old Hu's limited expertise in feng shui proved utterly insufficient amidst the majestic ancient tombs, relying solely on extraordinary fortune. Observe, gaze intently, achieve a swift breakthrough to the crimson level. Yet, upon attaining the green level in the secrets of feng shui, the once obscure principles began to unveil their true essence. While he could not claim complete comprehension, he indeed grasped many of the simpler techniques. For instance, the art of discerning the layout through the compass. Initially perplexing for a novice, it grew increasingly profound as his innate talent flourished. He also acquired a rudimentary understanding of techniques, such as the dragon-seeking formula and heavenly star feng shui. In merely a few days, his progress equated to what Old Hu might have learned in a year or two. What could he achieve? He possessed the extraordinary ability not only to replicate talent, but also to elevate it. Ah, how delightful! So profoundly gratifying was the moment. Su Ping clutched the book tightly, opting not to share it with Old Hu, as he wished to continue his reading to deepen his understanding of feng shui. As their conversation unfolded, a cacophony of clattering sounds approached from behind. A verdant pickup truck rushed past, stirring a cloud of dust that enveloped them. The rotund man, overflowing with bravado, proclaimed, "Is possessing a vehicle truly such a significant matter? Once I attain wealth, I shall procure one as well." Perhaps that opportunity has already slipped through his fingers. Su Ping remarked, observing the blue-collar workers and their tools aboard the truck. It appears that the National Archaeological Team has already unearthed the ancient tombs at exquisite Mountain. What? The rotund man was taken aback, his smile vanishing in an instant. "Old Su, please, do not frighten me." The accountant beside them nodded in solemn agreement, validating the disheartening news. The rotund gentleman experienced an overwhelming surge of despair, pinching himself in an attempt to regain composure. "Someone assure me this is not the case. It simply cannot be true." His grand ambitions, which had seemed so attainable just moments prior, now lay in utter ruin. Chapter 6. Mastering Marksman Skills. Rapidly level up, remain composed. Old Hu gently patted the robust man's shoulder, exuding an air of tranquility. There are still opportunities ahead. The village is abundant with jars cascading from exquisite Mountain, which could yield a substantial profit, the young accountant remarked. Yet, you may not have another opportunity. The archaeological team is meticulously combing through each village, collecting artifacts and distributing grain and oil vouchers to every household. Old Hu expressed his astonishment, momentarily rendering both men dizzy with the revelation. Upon their arrival at Gangang village, the two were briefly taken aback, forcing themselves to don faint smiles as they greeted the villagers and exchanged pleasantries. The village was devoid of electricity, rendering televisions inoperative. However, the radio, capable of both alternating and direct current, could be powered by batteries, providing a semblance of entertainment. The villagers were jubilant as they congregated around the radio, their excitement palpable. A group of women busily prepared meals, while the old village chief and Yanzi's father engaged in conversation with the three newcomers by the hearth. Upon learning that the ancient burial artifacts from exquisite Mountain possessed considerable value, Yanzi's father lamented the situation, exclaiming that the old village chief was remarkably astute. The old chief appeared bewildered, gazing at the gathering with a look of confusion. At the dining table, Lao Hu and Fatty seemed despondent, partaking in excessive amounts of alcohol. After warming up with a few drinks, Su Ping inquired, "Old village chief, are there any other ancient tombs nearby?" Upon the invocation of ancient tombs, Lao Hu sensed the effects of the alcohol fading, his ears attuned as he listened with rapt attention, casting an eager glance towards the venerable village chief. Fatty, somewhat befuddled from his libations, was prodded by Lao Hu, who proclaimed, "Fatty, there remains a glimmer of hope." "Indeed," the old village chief replied, his senses seemingly returning. "There are dangers aplenty, for that location has witnessed villagers who ventured forth and never returned. It is far too perilous for the three of you to embark alone. Tomorrow, I shall arrange for a guide." As the evening unfolded, the trio reveled in food and drink, ultimately surrendering to the gentle embrace of slumber within Yanzi's abode. Upon awakening the following day, Fatty was filled with elation at the prospect of the expedition to Wildman Gorge. his previous despondency dissipating in an instant. The three friends convened briefly, preparing provisions, beverages, and essentials for their journey. Su Ping was adamant about acquiring a barrel of oil for unforeseen circumstances. On the third day, they loaded their supplies onto a horse and awaited the guide arranged by the old village chief on the hillside at the village entrance. Before long, a striking figure emerged, riding in on horseback, galloping across the grasslands, with several hounds in hot pursuit. As she drew closer, her features became distinct. She wore a vibrant red scarf and a deep orange sheepskin coat, a hunting rifle slung across her back and a hunting knife at her waist. With short, jet black hair and delicate, youthful features, her eyes sparkled with a wild spirit, and though her tall stature was youthful, it lacked the allure of maturity. "Ingzi is here." Su Ping's eyes sparkled with intrigue as Lao Hu engaged in conversation with Ingzi. His gaze was drawn to her head, where a sequence of delicate characters was etched. Talent attributes: marksmanship blue, wilderness survival purple, replication conditions. Require Ingzi to undertake a task. Replication effects: assurance of successfully replicating one of the talents. A wave of astonishment enveloped Su Ping. One of the attributes reflected that of fatties. Did this suggest that they could both elevate their abilities? Would they be able to relish in the advantages? Yet, what intrigued him most was the wilderness survival, purple, attribute. The majority of ancient tombs lay concealed within the profound mountains and dense forests. With this talent, future endeavors in tomb raiding would undoubtedly become far more manageable. Su Ping contemplated, stroking his chin, and suggested that Ingzi undertake a task. Ingzi was celebrated for her competitive spirit, fierce demeanor, and formidable prowess. Particularly upon entering the primeval forest, she became increasingly obstinate, causing no small amount of trouble for Huan Peng. Persuading her to accept the task proved to be quite an arduous endeavor. Nevertheless, it seemed that anything was indeed achievable. After a moment of reflection, Su Ping gestured to the group and proclaimed, "The hour is late. We must embark without delay. You two are merely engaging in idle chatter. Hurry and make haste." Ingzi, ever candid, directed her remarks towards the indifferent old Hu and the rotund Peng, then tightened her grip on the reins and proceeded towards Su Ping. "Old Hu. Peng." In that fleeting moment, Su Ping perceived a transformation in the diminutive text hovering above Ingzi's head. Ingzi's marksmanship talent entry successfully replicated. Astonishing. How delightful. This rendered matters significantly more manageable. "Ingzi, do partake of some water." "Ingzi, the hour grows late. Let us dine before our departure." "Ingzi, best of luck. We shall await your return from the hunt." "Ingzi, do slice me a piece of meat." "Ingzi, kindly step aside. Permit old Hu and Peng their turn." "Ingzi, permit me to take charge." Ingzi, inhaled deeply. While Su Ping exercised caution in addressing significant matters with her, he remained resolute when it came to trivialities. Throughout the day, the activation of talent entry copying occurred 30 to 40 times. Marksmanship talent entry attained green quality. Wilderness survival also achieved green quality. In that instant, Su Ping felt as though he had garnered years of shooting expertise all at once. Although he had previously handled a firearm, the sensations experienced this time were entirely distinct. He possessed a wealth of knowledge regarding various survival skills in the wilderness, as well as an intimate understanding of flora and fauna. The following day, he engaged in copying the entries an additional 40 to 50 times. Both marksmanship and wilderness survival successfully ascended to blue quality. Ingzi, equipped with a hunting rifle and accompanied by a hunting dog, was poised to embark on a hunt. "Ingzi, I shall join you on your expedition." Su Ping, filled with enthusiasm, eagerly volunteered. Having obtained the blue talent entry in marksmanship, it was time to assess its efficacy. Every individual harbors a desire to possess their own firearm from a tender age. Having lived 2 lifetimes, he had yet to wield a genuine gun. Ingzi regarded him with a skeptical gaze and replied, "Do not complicate matters for me." "I shall not. Merely hand me the gun," Su Ping implored, extending his hand. "Soon, you shall witness my precision." "Very well," Ingzi acquiesced, nodding as she handed the hunting rifle to Su Ping. "Your marksmanship has been enhanced. How delightful." With a rifle in his grasp, Su Ping felt a surge of exhilaration. To his astonishment, his marksmanship now appeared to exceed even that of Ingzi. Shortly thereafter, bang, 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 3 gunshots reverberated through the air, and soon after, Ingzi returned, proudly bearing 2 wild rabbits and a red-feathered chicken. Su Ping beamed and inquired, "Did I shoot accurately?" Ingzi, seldom one to bestow praise, remarked, "Your aim was undeniably accurate, superior to my own." Chapter 7. Talent. Swift steps upon returning. Old Hu and Pang had ignited a fire, diligently preparing porridge while simultaneously roasting meat. Su Ping's gaze settled upon several hunting dogs. Much like humans, a series of diminutive characters materialized above the dogs' heads. Talent attribute: canine speech, red, copy condition, feeding, copy effect, canine speech, red, 10 but once copied. Your canine speech attains red quality. He meticulously sliced the surplus meat into numerous pieces, offering them to the hunting dogs one by one. Canine speech, red, copy successful. By copying canine speech, red, again, canine speech, red, has been significantly enhanced as the inscriptions above the dogs' heads transformed. He diligently completed the enhancement of all their talent attributes. Su Ping discovered that the copied talent attribute had undergone a remarkable metamorphosis. With 6 instances of canine speech, red, he adeptly transformed his canine speech, red, into canine companion, white. Canine companion, white. Owing to your profound mastery of canine speech, you have awakened an advanced, new talent. Through canine companion, you possess the ability to command any canine. However, at this juncture, only one can be controlled at a time. Ah, what a delightful revelation. A new ability has manifested. Previously, he had contemplated the ramifications of wielding 2 identical talent attributes. The reality has demonstrated that this would significantly enrich the experience of that attribute. For instance, having successfully emulated Ingzi's marksmanship talent and subsequently replicating Fatty's marksmanship talent, the 2 talents would synergize, rendering his proficiency twice that of the 2 individuals, thereby greatly augmenting his marksmanship prowess. This enhancement far exceeds the traditional methods of improvement by a considerable margin. It has now become apparent that 6 identical talent attributes possess the remarkable ability to elevate the original talent directly to its utmost level and beyond. Once an attribute attains its red status and reaches maximum capacity, it undergoes a metamorphosis into a new, more formidable talent attribute. Consequently, this evolved talent is classified as the lowest quality, denoted by white. How intriguing! Does this not represent a gateway to boundless evolution and enhancements? In the ensuing days, Su Ping found himself engaging in leisurely activities with Ingzi, caring for the dogs, and immersing himself in literature. The enhancement of his attributes surged at an astonishing rate. By the 5th day, he had achieved notable progress in marksmanship, blue, and survival in the wild, purple. At a glance, the primordial forest appeared strikingly familiar. He could identify every flower and blade of grass, discerning which mushrooms were edible and which were not, as well as understanding the behaviors of various creatures and the remedies for snake, insect, and rodent bites. In that moment, he felt as though he had attained mastery in wilderness survival. Even Bear Grylls would be compelled to address him as master. However, due to the elevated levels of these 2 enhancements, which surpassed their original state, the pace of advancement was relatively sluggish. On the afternoon of the 7th day, the group finally arrived at the Black Wind Pass and located the Wild Man's Gorge, establishing their camp upon the hillside. The canine companion also achieved a blue quality status. With this enhancement, the canine companion's abilities now allowed for the simultaneous command of 6 hunting dogs. You 2, go gather some firewood. After selecting the campsite, Ingzi instructed Lao Hu and the others to commence their tasks. The 2 felt a sense of discontent and retorted, "Why are we the only ones laboring while old Su enjoys a reprieve? Can you 2 even be compared to Su Gu?" Ingzi replied without glancing up as she organized the stove. "Su Gu possesses hunting skills and is well acquainted with the forest. What expertise do you 2 have? You are oblivious and persistently inattentive. You would remain unaware of the manner in which you might meet your demise within this forest." "Fatty, fine, let us proceed." Old Hu tugged impatiently at the corpulent man. Su Ping, observing their departure, was acutely cognizant that the rotund individual was in for a formidable ordeal. As the adage suggests, 1 pig, 2 bears, 3 tigers. Encountering a wild boar in the untamed wilderness is infinitely more treacherous than encountering a human bear or a northeast tiger. This is not due to the boar's superiority, but rather its overwhelming ferocity and brutal charge, which surpasses even that of a human bear. Do not be indolent, fatty, Su Ping chided with a smile. The endeavor to emulate the hefty man's characteristics was at its zenith, demanding he cast aside counsel and confront life-threatening perils. This was indeed a remarkable opportunity. Am I truly that kind of individual? Fatty proclaimed with unwavering certainty. Shortly thereafter, under the guise of needing to relieve himself, he persuaded Old Hu to gather firewood alone while he stealthily slipped away to indulge in idleness. However, before he could even unfasten his trousers, a colossal wild boar, measuring over 2 meters in length, materialized beside him. The boar, noticing him, charged forth without a moment's hesitation. Fatty's complexion drained of color, and in his frantic escape, he cried out, "Old Hu! Su! Help! Save me!" Upon hearing Fatty's desperate pleas, Su Ping and the others hastened towards the commotion. They discovered Fatty in a wild dash, desperately eluding the boar. Replication initiated. Fatty's marksmanship talent successfully replicated. Your marksmanship has ascended to the purple level. Goodness, this is astounding. It has directly enhanced my marksmanship. Indeed, the art of replicating innate talents far surpasses the mere accumulation of experience. Su Ping then turned his attention to the head of the boar. Talent attribute, swift footwork, blue. Replication condition, eliminate with a single shot. Replication effect, guaranteed replication of the swift footwork talent, with speed on par with that of the boar. Achieving blue quality, unlike hunting dogs, the wild boar's attribute was indeed swift footwork and of blue quality, no less. However, the condition was equally demanding, requiring it to be taken down in a single shot. As the boar charged toward Fatty, Ingzi raised her firearm and, with a resounding bang, aimed for the creature's head. Yet, this shot not only failed to bring the beast down, but instead provoked its fury. The boar, with its formidable hide and dense flesh, proved remarkably resilient against Ingzi's rudimentary homemade shotgun, which struggled to deliver a decisive blow. "Hand it over to me." Su Ping extended his hand, his tone leaving no room for dissent. With the mastery of his marksmanship, he felt an unprecedented surge of confidence. Ingzi, her expression taut with tension, hesitated momentarily before instinctively handing the firearm to Su Ping. Big dog, second dog, third dog, engage on the left flank, front, center, and rear. Fourth dog, fifth dog, sixth dog, engage on the right flank, front, center, and rear. With a swift motion, the pack of hunting dogs astonishingly appeared to grasp Su Ping's directives, dividing into 2 groups and racing towards the boar with unmistakable intent. 2 aimed for its hind legs, 2 for its belly, and 2 for its neck. Ingzi stood in awe of this remarkable display. Having nurtured this pack since childhood, she had never witnessed such meticulous coordination among them. In merely a few days, how had Su Ping managed to instill such obedience? Remain composed, fat dog. Fat dog? Who might that be? The wild boar was subdued by the hunting hounds, and the robust man could finally exhale a breath of relief as he wiped the cold perspiration from his brow and inquired. These 6 hunting hounds were all expertly trained, and among them, 3 were formidable mastiffs, instilling a sense of dread even in the presence of a bear. Confronted by their unyielding onslaught, the wild boar grew increasingly fatigued and battered, longing for escape, yet completely encircled by the dogs. Flight was utterly unattainable. Recognizing the opportune moment, Su Ping unsheathed his hunting knife and approached, delivering several decisive blows to the wild boar. As the creature lay on the ground, struggling for breath, Su Ping finally retrieved his firearm, pressing it against the beast's neck and aiming for its head, firing a single shot that resonated through the stillness. In an instant, the world was enveloped in silence. A solitary shot to vanquish the wild boar. The entry for replication has been activated. The swift step technique has been successfully acquired and elevated to the blue level. In the following moment, Su Ping experienced an extraordinary lightness in his legs. as if they had been suddenly endowed with remarkable strength, bestowing upon him exceptional agility, speed, and endurance. He inhaled sharply, astonished that the initial enhancement of his abilities originated from the wild boar. He perceived that his current velocity might transcend human limitations, rivaling that of the wild boar itself. Additionally, Su Ping noted that the speed of the hunting dogs was quite comparable to that of the wild boar. However, the dogs possessed the ability to communicate in canine language, yet they were devoid of the swift step technique. This revelation indicated that not all abilities were replicable. Only one or a few could be imitated, unveiling themselves throughout the process. Clang! Upon witnessing the untimely end of the wild boar, Ingzi drew her bone knife and cast a scornful glance at the portly man, perceiving him as inconsequential. The portly man, irked, retorted, "Old who? Observer." That mere glance. Old who shot him a look of contempt and urged, "Hasten and relieve yourself. Cease this embarrassment." The portly man swallowed hard, stammering, I am frightened." Chapter 8. Ingzi's embrace. Ingzi proceeded to skillfully skin and butcher the wild boar. Her movements were fluid, as she deftly separated the kidneys and stripped away the fat, clearly a seasoned expert. Meanwhile, Su Ping was astonished to observe that the line of small characters above Ingzi's head had undergone a remarkable transformation. This alteration was entirely distinct from what it had been previously. Earlier, it read, Talent entry, Marksmanship, blue, copied. Wilderness survival, purple, copied. Copy conditions, having Z perform a task, copy effect. Increase experience for relevant talent entries. Now it had shifted to talent entry, Marksmanship, blue, copied. Wilderness survival, purple, copied. Copy conditions. First time persuading Ingzi to initiate an embrace, copy effect. Randomly elevate one talent entry by quality. Could it truly unfold in this manner? With Ingzi's fiery spirit, persuading her to embrace him? That was as implausible as anticipating ants to moisten firewood. Entirely unfeasible. Yet, the replication effect was undeniably extraordinary. Regardless of the present caliber of talent, one could be unconditionally elevated in quality. Both marksmanship and wilderness survival possess the potential to ascend to an orange quality. Su Ping stroked his chin, gazing contemplatively at the slender figure of the little firecracker before him. As twilight descended, they congregated around a fire, grilling and relishing pig trotters. Ingzi had prepared a delightful dipping sauce to complement their feast. They indulged in hearty libations and sumptuous morsels of meat, reveling in the moment. Should Detzi from next door catch sight of this, he would undoubtedly drool with envy. Ingzi glanced at the fire and rose, proclaiming, You all enjoy, but we are running low on firewood. I shall go fetch some. I will accompany you to ensure your safety, volunteered the rotund man, wiping the grease from his hands. You are even more insufferable than a dog. Ingzi retorted, casually leading a mastiff by its leash. The rotund man's expression soured. What does that imply? Please elucidate. What do you mean by having a dog is sufficient? At that moment, Su Ping's eyes sparkled with realization. In this untamed forest, Ingzi exuded fearlessness, undaunted by the presence of wolves, tigers, or bears. Her singular vulnerability lay in her trepidation of death. It was an essential fear. Without it, how could her intrinsic abilities flourish? With a sudden epiphany, Su Ping set down his bowl and proclaimed, I shall accompany you. Ingzi nodded in agreement, responding succinctly, Very well. The rotund man sighed. TT, what a striking disparity among individuals. At that moment, Su Ping began to comprehend the rationale behind the alterations in Ingzi's replication conditions. After days spent pursuing wild boars, it appeared that any utterance from Ingzi could now effortlessly sway her consent. The ease of the conditions had precipitated a remarkable transformation. Should that be the case, the unfolding events could become even more captivating. The two of them guided the mastiff further into the untamed gorge. The solitary moon ascended high above, casting a frigid luminescence as stars shimmered in the tranquility of the night. Ingzi walked ahead, offering a thoughtful caution, Brother Su, the nights within the primordial forest are fraught with danger. Please remain close to me. Once we gather sufficient firewood, we shall return. Su Ping chuckled softly and nodded. Very well. He followed Ingzi, collecting firewood along their path. Ingzi, what is it you are holding? Su Ping illuminated the path ahead with his flashlight and discerned Ingzi clutching a pallid bone. Beast bone. It can serve as firewood, she responded, continuing to sift through a mound of bones strewn across the ground. Suddenly, an unsettling sensation washed over her. As she cleared the foliage encircling the pile, she recognized that these remnants bore no resemblance to those of animals. They appeared more akin to human bones, complete with haunting skulls. Even more disconcerting, she discovered numerous similar skeletal remains in proximity. A gasp escaped her lips, and a shiver coursed through her body, goosebumps erupting on her skin. She hastily discarded the bone and firewood she had gathered, retreating a few steps as anxiety tinged her voice. Brother Su, why are there so many bones? They resemble human bones. It is merely a collection of white bones. There is nothing to dread. Su Ping replied with an air of indifference, pressing onward. This was merely the commencement. These bones, though disconcerting in their appearance, bore resemblance to those of ordinary beasts. Brother Su, wait for me. Ingzi's heart surged to her throat, her large, glistening eyes anxiously scanning the environment, apprehensive of some monstrous apparition emerging from the shadows. After advancing a few steps, she stumbled upon several makeshift shelters, dim and dreary, exuding a repugnant stench of decay and mildew. Not only was Ingzi enveloped in trepidation, but her curiosity was also ignited. She extended her delicate neck, cautiously peering into one of the shelters. Suddenly, a figure emerged within the beam of her flashlight. It was shrouded in darkness, resembling charred timber, draped in a tattered overcoat. Yet, its eyes radiated a chilling blue light, reminiscent of a malevolent spirit from the netherworld, fixated intently upon her. Ingzi let out a piercing shriek, whirling around to seize Su Ping, only to find he had already retreated, intensifying her terror. With no moment to lose, she dashed away. Upon hearing her anguished cry, Su Ping glanced back, but Ingzi, without hesitation, leaped into his embrace, encircling his neck with her delicate arms. Brother Su, Brother Su, there's a ghost. There's a ghost. Her voice quivered as she buried her face against his chest, too frightened to look up, while pointing towards the shelter. Do not fear, do not fear. Su Ping comforted her, gently patting her shoulder, though his eyes shimmered with anticipation. A 100% success rate. Which extraordinary talent would it unveil? His marksmanship had significantly improved, attaining an orange quality. Oh, it was marksmanship. He felt his skills in marksmanship, orange, had undergone a remarkable enhancement. This enhancement surpassed mere shooting accuracy, encompassed an extensive reservoir of firearms knowledge. He was now capable of discerning the appropriate weapon and shooting technique, allowing him to analyze the most effective methods of marksmanship. Previously, the skills he had emulated from Ingzi were largely confined to the use of makeshift shotguns and certain manual firearms wielded by the stout boy. However, the landscape had shifted dramatically. He could now adeptly master nearly all popular firearms, achieving remarkable shooting results. Iconic weapons such as the AK-98K and the Arisaka rifle were all within his command. He had developed an intimate familiarity with the firearms that were prevalent during the era of conflict. At his current level of proficiency, he would undoubtedly be recognized as a sharpshooter, even amidst military ranks. Upon reaching this milestone, the text above Ingzi's head transformed yet again. Talent entry. Marksmanship blue, copied. Wilderness survival purple, copied. Encourage Ingzi to take the first step in sharing a kiss. Copy effect. Randomly enhance a related entry by 1 quality. This golden touch holds significant value. There is no necessity for dramatics. Let us not exceed the bounds of reason. While leaping into an embrace may serve as a clever expedient, a kiss is, indeed, an entirely different affair. Nevertheless, the prospect exhilarated Su Ping's heart. Should marksmanship, orange, ascend to the esteemed quality of red, it would signify its attainment of the utmost level. Su Ping beheld Ingzi, who quivered with trepidation in his embrace. Though she hailed from the mountains and had spent years braving the elements, rendering her complexion rather unremarkable, her form, features, and the untamed spirit that radiated from her were undeniably extraordinary. This was without any embellishment. Had she descended into the city and been properly adorned, she would assuredly blossom into a mesmerizing beauty. There was no necessity for haste. Time was their ally. After a considerable interval, Ingzi finally regained her composure, realizing she was still clinging to Su Ping. Her face flushed a deep crimson as she swiftly released him and lowered her gaze, uttering, "Brother Su, we must hasten and depart." It was a rare spectacle to witness the spirited girl in a state of shyness, prompting Su Ping to chuckle softly. "It is merely a corpse. There's nothing to dread." He approached the lifeless form nestled within the makeshift shelter. The corpse had deteriorated, becoming a desiccated husk, exposed to the elements, with stains marring its surface and insects crawling across its features. Despite his mental preparation, the sight of an actual corpse sent a shiver coursing down his spine. Confronting the stark reality of death was an experience entirely distinct from mere anticipation. Chapter 9. The decline of the Longhu Mountain legacy. Beside the body lay a Japanese military sword, which Su Ping retrieved. With a sharp sound, the blade was drawn from its sheath, gleaming coldly in the damp atmosphere of the ancient forest, revealing no signs of rust despite the passage of years. The quality of this sword was exceptional. Adjacent to the sword lay a military backpack. Upon unfastening it, he uncovered a field notebook encased in sheepskin. "Brother Su, who do you suppose these individuals were?" Ingzi inquired with curiosity, leaning in closer. "Based on the situation, they seem to belong to the Japanese forces," Su Ping responded, opening the field notebook. The pages, inscribed in Japanese, were yellowed yet remarkably well-preserved, adorned with legible handwriting. Having been shaped by various mentors in his past life, he possessed a rudimentary grasp of the language. As he perused the lines of text, a slight furrow formed on Su Ping's brow. Something felt amiss. The contents differed entirely from what he recalled. The Japanese forces from Dongning apprehended a group of individuals and extracted secrets pertaining to immortality. We conveyed this revelation to the Guangdong Army stronghold, seeking the aid of the accompanying Onmyoji to further investigate the methods of achieving immortality. Yet, we have been unable to locate the subterranean base and have become disoriented. Subsequently, we encountered a cadre of tomb raiders, and from that moment forth, we have been engulfed in profound terror. One by one, the raiders met their demise in ghastly manners. Once the tomb raiders had been vanquished, it was the turn of the Japanese soldiers, with only a handful of leaders remaining. Ultimately, succumbing to the torment of dread, they resorted to self-disembowelment. Dongning, if memory serves correctly, this locale lies near the border of China and North Korea. They apprehended individuals privy to the secrets of immortality and managed to extract information from them. Immortality, what lies beyond the ancient deities and immortals that can genuinely bestow eternal life. Throughout the annals of history, sovereigns have invested immense energy in the creation of grand sepulchres. Yet none have attained true immortality. Even the tomb of the Huns failed to bestow everlasting life. If they had possessed the arcane knowledge of immortality, how could they have fallen into captivity? This suggests that their powers were, indeed, constrained. This realm is far more complex than I had ever envisioned. Su Ping pondered deeply within. In the recesses of his memory, prior to the establishment of the nation, there were those who triumphed over demons and subdued monstrous beings. Some invoked the dead to reclaim souls, while others confined treasures to extend their lifespans. In due course, an organization emerged, helmed by an immortal leader. Within the Five Thunder Palace on Longhu Mountain resided a fragment of celestial scripture. In ancient epics, two individuals delved into its wisdom and subsequently unified the realm in their respective times. Some merely cast their eyes upon a mere 2.5 lines of the scripture, thereby attaining profound enlightenment in their crafts. Su Ping meticulously contemplated his experiences at Longhu Mountain and recognized the existence of legends surrounding the Longhu celestial scripture, which he had previously dismissed as mere myth. This revelation hinted that, prior to its decline, Longhu Mountain must have harbored a genuine and grand legacy. As time unfolded, the once murky sky appeared to clear abruptly, casting a radiant illumination upon the surroundings. Su Ping raised his gaze to behold a full moon gracefully poised in the heart of the night sky. The moment has arrived. Ingzi, let us make our way back. Su Ping called out, firmly grasping his notebook and military knife as he strode towards the camp. Brother Su, wait for me, Ingzi exclaimed, hastily pursuing him. She then leaned closer and murmured, Brother Su, when we return, could you please refrain from mentioning this to Hugo and Panga? I am quite anxious about this matter. You little one, so resolute, Su Ping said fondly, tousling Ingzi's lustrous black hair with a smile. Very well. This shall remain our secret. No one else shall be privy to it. Ingzi replied, nodding with delight, resembling an affectionate little sister in that moment. Upon their return to the camp, Fatty was about to query Su Ping regarding the military knife in his grasp when Su Ping interjected, Old Hu, where is your compass? It's in my bag, why do you ask? Retrieve it. The ancient tomb is on the verge of unveiling itself. Huh. Upon hearing this, Old Hu's eyes sparkled with delight. He gazed up at the night sky, a flicker of joy illuminating his features, before swiftly retrieving the compass from his backpack and presenting it to Su Ping. Su Ping took hold of the compass, orienting it in harmony with the celestial stars. Celestial star geomancy, the moon at its zenith. The breaker and the greedy wolf converge. The celestial pivot and the shaking light align, indicating the location of the ancient tomb. On the compass, it is, utilizing the arcane art of celestial star geomancy, Su Ping proceeded in the direction denoted by the compass, with his companions eagerly trailing behind. Soon, Su Ping came to an abrupt stop, his eyes alight with excitement as he gestured toward an open space nearby, proclaiming, The coffin lies just beneath this very spot. In recent days, he had scarcely parted from his tome. Merely 2 days prior, his geomantic skills had attained a blue level. After an additional 2 days, he had even surpassed Old Hu in this realm. The coffin? Old Hu was taken aback. His geomantic skills were commendable, and he instinctively recognized the significance of the moment. The esoteric techniques currently employed by Su Ping encompass celestial star geomancy and the art of discerning formations. Given Old Su's ancestral lineage linked to the mountain, it was hardly surprising that he mastered these arts with remarkable swiftness. However, deducing the precise location of the coffin within the ancient tomb was an endeavor far beyond the capabilities of an ordinary individual. At the very least, it exceeded Old Hu's own prowess. Dividing gold to ascertain the burial site, celestial stars to pinpoint. Old Su, you are truly a master. Concerning Su Ping's extraordinary talent, Old Hu's eyes overflowed with envy. He had possessed this tome for over a decade, yet paled in comparison to the mere days Su Ping had dedicated to it. With a smile, Su Ping proposed, Let us mark the spot and return tomorrow to excavate the tomb. Agreed. Upon hearing the command, Old Hu's excitement grew, as he diligently cleared the surrounding weeds and ignited a small fire as a beacon. Subsequently, the 4 of them returned to their encampment. At the break of dawn the following morning, Ingzi rose with the sun. Stretching and yawning, she cast her gaze upon Su Ping, who still slumbered beside her. Memories of the fright she had endured the night before flooded her mind, causing her cheeks to blush. Her sparkling eyes scrutinized Su Ping with newfound admiration. Why had I never noticed how handsome Su Gu is? Ingzi mused to herself, lost in reverie. Ingzi, what are you murmuring about? Old Hu, now awake, inquired casually from distance. Ingzi felt an inexplicable surge of nervousness and quickly averted her gaze, casting a reproachful look at Old Hu. Why do you concern yourself so much? If you are awake, go excavate the ancient tomb instead of lounging about. Was breakfast not even a consideration? He harbored a profound suspicion that Ingzi held an inherent bias against both him and Fatty. Yet, he refrained from articulating his thoughts. 4. He knew that Ingzi's fiery disposition would undoubtedly unleash a torrent of reprimand upon him. In a bid to rouse the slumbering Fatty, Old Hu kicked him and urged Fatty, Rise and commence your duties. Blinking away the remnants of sleep, Fatty awoke to find Old Hu hurling a shovel in his direction. What in the world? Fatty was momentarily bewildered, yet he soon regained his composure, grasping the shovel and casting a glance at the still dormant Su Ping. Old Su, do hasten. You are the laziest among us. What do you mean? Ingzi shot a piercing glare at Fatty, admonishing him. Su Gu toiled diligently through the night. What is amiss with him enjoying a little extra rest? Simply attend to your work, as I instruct. There is no time for frivolous conversation. We shall summon you when breakfast is prepared. Old Who, Fatty, Chapter 10. A fiery sky and the secret art of massage, a tantalizing aroma of meat enveloped Su Ping, stirring him from his slumber. Su Gu, you're awake? Here. As Su Ping opened his eyes, Ingzi approached him, cradling a bowl of steaming meat soup. Drink it while it's hot. It's exquisite. Thank you. Su Ping accepted the bowl, gently blowing on the soup before taking a sip. Ingzi, your culinary skills have truly flourished. As he surveyed the surroundings, he noted the absence of Hu and Fatty. Where Hu Gu and Fatty? They've gone to work, Ingzi replied with a cheerful smile. Those two are quite eager, aren't they? Su Ping chuckled softly, savoring another sip of the soup. Their enthusiasm was rather unexpected, having only commenced their work after breakfast. They had already toiled for a significant portion of the morning. The allure of the ancient tomb appeared to be quite potent for them. After all, who could resist the enchanting prospect of amassing hundreds of thousands, or even millions from a single grave? Yet, their current endeavors proved utterly fruitless. After relishing the rich meat broth and indulging in several hearty morsels of meat, Su Ping sought out Hu and the plump fellow. Upon spotting them, he exclaimed, "You two should cease your labor. This place harbors no ancient tomb." Huh? The two men, upon hearing this, were momentarily taken aback, glancing up at Su Ping with expressions of bewilderment. Old Su, you mentioned yesterday that the coffin lay beneath us. Indeed, Su Ping acknowledged, continuing. Yet this site is part of the ancient Liaojin tomb complex, and based on historical timelines, this complex must have employed anti-theft techniques inherited from the Song dynasty. If I am not mistaken, this tomb utilizes a Tianhua mechanism. What is a Tianhua mechanism, you ask? It consists of a flammable oil ensconced between two layers of exceedingly thin tiles. The slightest impact shatters the tiles, igniting the oil upon exposure to air, unleashing a fiery deluge that incinerates antiques, funerary items, coffins, and tomb raiders alike. My heavens, what shall we do? The rotund gentleman scratched his head, feeling particularly perturbed. Su Ping, undaunted, responded, this anti-theft technology was deemed sophisticated at the time, yet it is now relatively straightforward to bypass. We can excavate a lateral tunnel, facilitating our entry into the tomb with ease. Let us return for breakfast before we resume our endeavors. Old Hu and the rotund man returned to their meal, while Su Ping and Ingzi, accompanied by the dog, meandered through the vicinity. In Su Ping's estimation, the group of tomb raiders likely originated from the village, and given their level of expertise, they would probably be incapable of recognizing the Tianhua mechanism, let alone excavating a lateral tunnel. First, they needed to survey an appropriate site for their excavation. During daylight, Ingzi displayed significantly more courage than at night. In this primeval forest, with a hunting dog in tow and a rifle in hand, she strode confidently ahead of Su Ping, seemingly reclaiming her former self-assurance. Suddenly, a piercing scream reverberated, followed by a tumult of barks. Su Ping observed that the ever-ahead Ingzi had vanished without a trace. Brother Su. Brother Su. Following the sound, Su Ping discovered a cave nestled beneath a large tree, with a hunting dog anxiously pacing nearby. Upon seeing Su Ping approach, the dog barked a few times and began to paw at the branches obscuring the cave entrance. I comprehend, Su Ping instructed, patting the dog's back. Go and fetch Old Hu and the rotund fellow, and bring along the rope, flashlight, and that barrel of oil. The dog immediately dashed off. Su Ping gazed into the cave below. Indeed, there was a tunnel. The existence of the Tianhua mechanism suggested that these individuals were not mere grave robbers. Who then? Were these tomb raiders? Furthermore, if they indeed possessed any genuine expertise, why had they ventured into the ancient tomb without activating its mechanisms or even unsealing the coffin? Such discrepancies were confounding. He crouched low and slipped into the cave. There was no necessity for a rope, owing to his intrinsic ability for swift movement. He navigated with both agility and grace. With a rustling sound, he arrived at the base of the tunnel, where Ingzi sat beside the entrance. Su Ping knelt down. grasping Ingzi's ankle, and gently removed her shoe, unveiling her delicate, fair foot. Beneath her ankle lay a bruise, and as Su Ping lightly touched it, Ingzi winced, inhaling sharply in pain. The bone is dislocated, but it is not severe, Su Ping reassured her, cradling her petite foot. During my years as a Taoist, I acquired some traditional Chinese medical techniques from my grandfather, and they are quite effective for treating injuries. Really? Brother Su, you are truly remarkable. Ingzi found solace in Su Ping's presence and was on the verge of conveying her gratitude when, unexpectedly, Su Ping applied pressure. A searing pain coursed through her body, prompting her to tremble and clench her teeth, suppressing a cry. However, shortly thereafter, she experienced a wave of relief, as though the obstruction had been removed. Do you feel better? Su Ping inquired. Ingzi wiggled her toes and discovered she could move her injured foot, although the swollen area still throbbed slightly. In such circumstances, a gentle massage can invigorate blood flow and swiftly alleviate pain, Su Ping elucidated, one hand supporting her foot while the other employed the heel of his palm to perform soft, circular motions on the affected area. As time progressed, the efficacy of the massage technique diminished, necessitating a more precise approach for optimal results. These methods, whether kneading or rubbing, are customary practices in traditional Chinese medicine. Before long, Ingzi experienced a significant reduction in discomfort. She rose and took a few steps, both astonished and elated. Brother Su, you are truly remarkable. I feel entirely well. In contrast, Hu and Pang are utterly ineffectual, she remarked. What are you saying about me, you little girl? At that moment, Lao Hu and Pang arrived, having overheard Ingzi's remarks and unable to resist interjecting. Ingzi responded candidly, I am not mistaken, am I? Very well, then I shall not descend to your level, Pang replied, a sense of helplessness washing over him. Despite his words, the sting of the situation was palpable. Soon, they secured a rope to a nearby tree and cast it into the cave, accompanied by 4 flashlights. The group illuminated their surroundings within the dim underground passage, flanked by stone walls adorned with peculiar carvings. At the corridor's end loomed a majestic stone door, slightly ajar, revealing a disheveled interior as if it had been ransacked. Chapter 11. Dongxia's 10,000 slaves. Upon entering the tomb passage, Pang commenced to exhibit the archaeological knowledge he had gleaned during the train journey, meticulously inspecting the mechanisms and traps within the tomb. Su Ping chuckled. Pang, do you perceive that the door is ajar? Pang brandished the rope in his grasp, retorting, Old Su, has your vision deteriorated? Can you not discern whether it is ajar or shut? Su Ping responded, the door stands wide open. What purpose does your inspection serve? Learning necessitates flexibility. Pang's countenance reddened with mortification, defiantly insisting, anything is conceivable. Beside them, Lao Hu smiled broadly. Old Suyu. Chapter 12. Ingzi, hold on, 1 billion is merely a measure of the opulence contained within the tomb of Empress Xiao, Su Ping remarked with a composed demeanor. However, time favors us, and an abundance of riches lies ahead. Without indulging in distant aspirations, the ancient city of Jingjue conceals the wealth of the 36 nations of the western regions, an amount that is certainly not inferior to that found in the tomb of Empress Xiao. To seize the treasures from such a place would indeed bestow upon one a fortune akin to that of a nation. Ha ha, the rotund man exclaimed with palpable enthusiasm, rolling up his sleeves. Come, brothers, let us gather all these treasures. Chapter 13. Millions of underworld artifacts. Wait a moment. Old Hu exclaimed as he produced a compass, orienting himself towards the southeast. Fatty, kindly hand me a candle from your pack. Certainly. The stout man quickly opened his backpack and retrieved a candle. Curiously, Ingzi observed the 2 industrious figures and asked, Brother Su, what are they engaged in? Su Ping, with a touch of nonchalance, responded, they are lighting a candle. Ingzi, appearing bewildered, inquired, what does that signify? Why light a candle? It is a customary practice, primarily to determine if the tomb is devoid of oxygen. Chapter 14. The emergence of the Zongzi. Unyielding strength and indestructibility, Su Ping nodded thoughtfully, signaling to the others to first transport the porcelain outside. Within the confines of the coffin lay 4 exquisite porcelain pieces, accompanied by 4 unembellished white counterparts, which possessed a slightly diminished value. Once these treasures had been carefully removed, Su Ping began to scrutinize the possessions of the ancient corpse. In the grasp of the ancient figure were two jade pendants, while a piece of jade rested delicately within its mouth. Though these artifacts bore considerable worth, they were overshadowed by the porcelain. Su Ping then entrusted these items to the rotund gentleman. Chapter 15. Talent. An indomitable force. Clatter. As the imposing figure of the red-haired Zongzi loomed at a height of 2 meters and 3 centimeters, he cast a downward gaze upon them. The stout man, looking up at Zongzi, nervously uttered, Old Su, you were once a Taoist. Perhaps you might counsel him against acting impulsively. Should he sustain another injury, it would indeed be a tragic misfortune. As he spoke, the stout man trembled, casting the remaining 2 pieces of jade into the coffin. Counsel? He disregards advice. He wishes to drag us down with him into the abyss of death. Su Ping maintained his composure, gently patting Ingzi's small hand to signal her to withdraw, and then stepped forward resolutely. Chapter 16. The underground base, the ammunition depot. Ha ha ha. Although the indestructible did not achieve successful replication, the unyielding strength ascended to a vibrant green quality. In that fleeting moment of triumph, Su Ping experienced a profound metamorphosis within his being, as though an immense power had descended from the heavens, intertwining flawlessly with him and becoming an intrinsic part of his essence. As he gently clenched his fist, he could perceive the tautness of the muscles in his arm, while his meridians surged like azure dragons, seemingly yearning to break free from the confines of flesh. In that instant, the hunting rifle in his grasp felt as if it had. Chapter 17. Ghostly eyes on this occasion. Not only did the corpulent gentleman perceive it, but so too did Su Ping, along with the inscription adorning the head of the little specter clad in white. Talent attribute. Ghostly eyes, green. Conditions for replication. Must behold it. Copying effect. 30 replication rate. Yet will directly achieve green quality. It is exceedingly uncommon for an individual to catch sight of a ghost, unless one possesses the fabled capability to awaken their celestial eye, or the apparition deigns to reveal itself. Moreover, the elusive form of the child in white renders it particularly arduous to behold. After a moment of reflection, Su Ping produced a map and pinpointed the designated exit, proclaiming, Chapter 18. Ultrasonic abilities. Countless bats dangled upside down from the ceiling, each one colossal, 2 to 3 times the size of an ordinary bat. Their visages bore a striking resemblance to that of swine. Some of the bats were roused from slumber, flapping their wings and darting chaotically through the air. Amidst the throng of large bats, Su Ping discerned, in a dim corner, several dozen oversized bats encircling an enormous bat. This colossal creature, reminiscent of a diminutive lamb, was rotund and plump, its enormous wings cascading over its head as it hung upside down in slumber. Chapter 19. Another battle with the ghosts. Who will prevail? With a sense of fulfillment, Su Ping retrieved the rifle and gestured to the 2 children obstructing the vent, proclaiming, You may descend now. Upon hearing this, the children swiftly descended from the vent and scampered toward a nearby door. It was a formidable iron door, far more substantial than the one sealing the red-haired giant. A hermetic door. The stout fellow suspected treasures lay within, while old who inclined towards the notion of biochemical weapons. The 2 engaged in an interminable argument, leaving Ingzi with a throbbing headache from their incessant bickering. Chapter 20. Corpse disintegration and ascension, the guiding child. The intricate patterns adorning the coffin bore an uncanny resemblance to the descriptions of corpse disintegration and ascension delineated in the Book of Gods. Furthermore, the 28 constellations aligned harmoniously with the principles of celestial feng shui. It appears that the individual responsible for interring this coffin was indeed a master of the esoteric secrets of feng shui. The Book of Gods elucidates that, in addition to the alignment of celestial bodies and the assistance of divine beasts, a guiding child is also essential for the process of corpse disintegration and ascension. Thus, it seems that those 2 ethereal spirits served as the preparatory children. If the arrangement was as meticulous as it seemed, there might indeed exist a genuine possibility for corpse disintegration and ascension. Chapter 21. instilling fear in the prairie badger. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Ping unleashed a shot that reverberated with a thunderous bang, roar, accompanied by the ominous growl of a beast. A creature towering above a man plummeted to the ground from the ceiling, its left eye morphed into a gaping wound, blood pouring forth. In that instant, all present could discern the form of this colossal beast before them. Is that the human-faced sloth? Old Hu recognized it instantly and breathed a sigh of relief. Tough-skinned and muscular, immensely powerful, with razor-sharp claws. Should it choose to ambush us from behind, it could prove fatal. Chapter 22. Immune to all poisons, indestructible. Exceptional immunity, blue. Immune to the majority of viruses, including the fearsome rabies. Poisons, such as the lethal crane-top red, arsenic, and other toxic substances, significantly bolster its resistance, rendering them non-lethal and facilitating rapid recovery. Furthermore, it demonstrates remarkable immunity to other prevalent toxins, including corpse poison and toxic gases. To possess such an extraordinary talent is to be invulnerable to all toxins. Upon the acquisition of this remarkable gift, an unparalleled metamorphosis unfolded within his essence. His mind became lucid and revitalized. Chapter 23. Sakura's enthusiastic kiss. He perceived a miraculous transformation coursing through his bones, meridians, and even his skin. Faint creaks echoed from his bones and muscles as both their density escalated to a remarkable degree. Clenching his fists, he discovered his biceps had become as unyielding as granite. His skin, now imbued with an extraordinary elasticity, was more refined than ever, with even the scars that once marred it now vanished. His fingers glided delicately over the blade of a military knife, producing faint metallic clinks as his fingertip caressed the edge, emerging unscathed and entirely unharmed. Chapter 24. The youthful surprise of Ingzi. This woman possesses an extraordinary allure. Were she to cast her gaze upon men, I would undoubtedly find myself in turmoil. What is this lamentable talent? Is it designed to render me blind to my own afflictions? I beseech you, spare me. Su Ping inhaled deeply, earnestly wishing to avert his eyes from such sights. Brother Su, what troubles you? Ingzi inquired, approaching him with genuine concern, her hand resting gently upon Su Ping's forehead. Are you unwell? In that instant, Su Ping became acutely aware that Ingzi had returned to her usual self. Chapter 25. The Crescent Moon Hotel, 3 million. Dividing the spoils, the corpulent gentleman commenced the revelation of his prized possessions, disclosing 2 jade pendants, 1 intricately carved jade sculpture, and a resplendent gold mask. These items are rather unremarkable in quality, commented Big Gold Tooth, his countenance bespeaking profound disappointment. Do not be hasty. There is more to unveil. He then procured 4 porcelain embryo forms. In an instant, Big Gold Tooth's demeanor transformed. Despite their status as mere embryos, these artifacts were exceedingly rare and remarkably well-preserved porcelain. Each of these 4 forms held a value that could rival that of the previously displayed treasures. Chapter 26. The Grand Courtyard. 2 small gulls observing the rotund man speak thoughtlessly. Old Hu cleared his throat and remarked, "This cannot be the manner in which we allocate it. Without Old Su, we would not have accumulated such wealth. Old Su's share deserves to be considerable. As for the remaining 4 portions, a singular share for each shall suffice." The rotund man chuckled foolishly. "You are entirely correct. Even a mere 10% amounts to hundreds of thousands." Indeed, Old Hu nodded. Hundreds of thousands. How many individuals traverse their entire lives without ever encountering such a sum? Old Su, what are your reflections? Chapter 27. The first encounter with Xu Liang. Forcing me to be a scoundrel? In the afternoon, the group indulged in a lavish shopping spree, meticulously sorting and selling their old possessions, all while relocating on the same day. As evening descended, Ingzi procured a bountiful selection of meats and vegetables from the market, subsequently crafting an exquisite dinner. In the charming gazebo of the backyard, a gathering convened around the dining table, partaking in merriment and revelry, accompanied by light-hearted repartee. As the libations flowed and spirits soared, Old Hu, slightly intoxicated, inquired, "Master Jean, it is said that the treasures of the lost ancient city are abundant. With your extensive knowledge, do you possess any insights into such treasures?" Upon the mention of treasures, both Old Hu and the portly gentleman. Chapter 28. The Fusion of Talents. Upon perceiving the scorn from the opposing party, the corpulent man promptly commenced his protests. His flamboyant exhibition of jade indeed captured the attention of Professor Chun and his colleagues, who ultimately consented to his inclusion in the archaeological team. Eventually, Xu Yang's gaze settled upon Su Ping as she proclaimed, "As for Mr. Su, I believe we no longer require your services. You may take your leave." Su Ping responded with an unruffled composure. To grasp the stars, one must summon the puppet master. The mountain of victory is not to be trifled with. Xu Yang found herself taken aback, unprepared to overhear utterances from the realm of thieves amidst the archaeological team. Chapter 29. What ails the Minotaur? The Minotaur is remarkable, or perhaps not. Not even four. What digit do you grasp in your hand? In a sleeper compartment of a verdant train journeying westward, a number of individuals congregated around a card game. Following their return from the archaeological expedition, they had awaited several days for Xu Yang's announcement of departure. This time, only Su Ping and two others accompanied her. Yingzi remained in Beiping, overseeing the antique funerary artifacts left behind in the village. Reclining upon the bed, Su Ping quietly immersed herself in the pages of a book. Upon completion, Su Ping. Chapter 30. The ice and fire worms. As the tale unfolded, Old Hu's emotions swelled, his gaze locked fervently upon Professor Chun. "Can you fathom the tumult within my heart? Do you genuinely grasp the depths of my despair?" he implored. "Little Hu, please, find your composure. We all empathize." Professor Chun swiftly reassured him, redirecting the discourse. "Yet this time we possess compelling motives to advance. For the sake of, no reason can justify such a course." Old Hu nearly bellowed, his eyes ablaze as he surveyed the room. "If you proceed, among you shall be those students, both present and absent." Chapter 31. The imperial capital, abode of the gods. A decade ago, on a fateful evening near the great Phoenix Temple of Kunlun Mountain, a series of extraordinary events unfolded, compelling Old Hu and his companions to embark on an investigation. Though the aquatic demons were scarce, they found themselves confronted by formidable adversaries, including a ferocious pack of wolves led by the Snow Wolf King. In a desperate attempt to rescue Old Hu, the military medical officer, Goma, sustained severe injuries from the wolves, ultimately succumbing to a vegetative state, carried away by a brass horn for prayers. In Old Hu's heart, Goma had always embodied unparalleled gentleness and kindness. Yet paradoxically, she was the individual he feared the most. Recently, Old Hu had dispatched 50,000 to her, yet he steadfastly declined to meet her. Chapter 32. The ancient relic. Once everyone had descended, they embarked on their journey into the expansive chasm. The further they ventured, the deeper they delved, ultimately finding themselves in the subterranean fissure nestled between two mountains. After half an hour of trekking, they surmised they had reached directly beneath the glacier. As they descended further, vibrant hues of mica began to envelop them. Su Ping glanced around. Having absorbed the archaeological wisdom imparted by Professor Chun and Old Hu, he became well-versed in various antiquities. The deeper the color of the mica, the more profound its origin beneath the surface. Now these deep. Chapter 33. The awakening of the Yanhuang bloodline. This ancient relic appeared unwavering in its determination to consume Xu Yang, and after a failed attempt, it lunged at her once more. Clang! Su Ping's arm quivered slightly, and the glint of his military knife flickered as he aimed for the eye of the ancient tyrant salamander. Roar! The ancient tyrant salamander suddenly opened its maw wide, unleashing a tempestuous gust of air, reminiscent of a cavern, and then its scarlet tongue shot forth, soft and adhesive. Once ensnared, escape would prove exceedingly arduous. Su Ping retreated several steps, swinging his hand as he withdrew. Chapter 34. The aura of the Emperor, the ancient overlord, dispelling all evil. "I shall offer a greater sum. Would 50,000 suffice?" Xu Yang observed Su Ping regarding her with an unmistakable intensity. She found herself at a loss. Previously, Su Ping's playful teasing could be easily dismissed, met with her composed demeanor. However, now his penetrating gaze left her increasingly unsettled, as if she were stripped bare. rendering her exposed and discomfort, compelling her to extend her 5 fingers. A wealthy tycoon is, without a doubt, a wealthy tycoon. In these times, millionaires are a rarity. Yet Shui Yang's proposal was an astonishing 50,000 US dollars, no less. Chapter 35. Enhancement of bloodline purity. This substance is indeed consumable. Su Ping was momentarily taken aback. However, after consumption, he discerned no significant alteration, possibly due to the modest quantity ingested, which left a negligible impression. Nonetheless, he had undeniably satisfied the prerequisites for replication. In light of this, Su Ping commenced to emanate the aura of his Yan Huang bloodline. This aura was limited in scope, extending merely 5 centimeters around him. Under the influence of the Yan Huang bloodline aura, the fireflies began to disintegrate from within, ultimately transforming into a concentrated mass of energy. Chapter 36. Words of caution fall on deaf ears. The first blood. While Su Ping maintained his composure, Lao Hu found himself in a state of utter disarray. The crowd was scattering, pursued by the relentless fireflies. The burly man, in his frantic flight, called out to Lao Hu, Lao Su is unafraid of the fireflies. I believe I comprehend the situation. Lao Hu, bewildered, responded, what do you mean? It's the water. It's the water. The stout man gasped while running, struggling for breath. Just moments ago, we were drenched in the underground river. Our garments, both inside and out, were soaked, which must explain why the fireflies perished upon contact. Chapter 37. A month's worth of effort. Why risk it all? Upon reaching the exit, snowflakes as large as goose feathers cascaded down, and the howling wind roared above, echoing like distant thunder, clearly audible below. Everyone, move swiftly. We are running out of time. Su Ping called out, seizing a rope as the power of his Yan Huang bloodline surged forth, amplifying his already formidable strength. With effortless grace, he grasped the rope, scaling the sheer cliffside with remarkable speed, reaching the summit in mere moments. I've made it! I've made it! Upon seeing Su Ping, Xiao Yi, who had been vigilantly waiting, was overwhelmed with joy, her excitement unmistakable. Chapter 38. Friends are friends. All our friends hand over the cash. Huh? Me? After concluding the discussions at the town hall, Su Ping resolved to invest 200,000 in development, with the objective of enriching the tourism sector. Initially, a prepayment of 50,000 is required, followed by a gradual investment over the subsequent 3 months. The town eagerly awaits the arrival of these funds, filled with anticipation. As a foreign investor, it is only natural for you to make a contribution, remarked Su Ping with a touch of indifference. Yet, this was your proposal, Shui Yang protested. Chapter 39. A waste of water in the desert? Or merely a gentle reprimand? Talent attribute. Desert survival. Orange. Copy conditions. Earn the complete respect of an Lyman copy effect. Ensures the acquisition of the sand dune survival talent. Attaining orange quality. The talent attribute of an Lyman is desert survival, recognized for its orange quality, which eclipses Ingzi's wilderness survival abilities by a tier. This underscores an Lyman's intrinsic value. Earning his sincere respect is no trivial endeavor. Without enduring certain hardships, this experienced individual will not fully acquiesce. Chapter 40. Old Su truly excels. He has taken initiative at this moment. The camels exhibited a survival instinct more profound than that of humans. They surged forward with fervor, their bodies soaked in sweat, legs quaking, yet their pace quickened. Born of the desert, they possessed an immeasurable reverence for it. As the storm escalated, the camels, in despair, knelt upon the ground, burying their heads in the sand, feigning ignorance of the tempest. Along the journey, they witnessed countless camels succumbing in this manner. The helplessness, despair, and oppression confronted in the face of such natural calamities rendered one breathless. Chapter 41. Old Su, you are quite audacious. Is this not an indirect kiss? Afterward, Shui Yang gazed dreamily at Su Ping, momentarily uncertain of how to proceed. After a prolonged pause, she recalled, oh, right, I inadvertently used your water. Here, take mine. With that, she extended her water bottle towards Su Ping. Thank you, he responded graciously. Having arrived at the ancient ruins of the Western Night Kingdom, the Holy Well was not far, and water resources were not in dire straits. He accepted the bottle, twisted off the cap, and hesitated. Chapter 42. Whoever digs. Whoever is responsible. If you perish, it is your own doing, the stout man, gnawing on jerky and feeling utterly despondent, clamored to venture outside in pursuit of yellow sheep. And Lyman resolutely forbade him, bringing the stout man to the brink of kneeling before him in frustration. Were it not for Lyman's advanced age, he might have already retaliated. Shortly thereafter, Su Ping stepped outside, returning within mere minutes, triumphantly bearing 2 yellow sheep. Old Su, remarkable. You managed to catch these. The corpulent man leapt from the ground, filled with exuberance, eager to slaughter one of the sheep. Chapter 43. Scoundrel, there are so many people here. Xu Liang lapsed into silence for a moment before articulating. From your words, the queen of the Jingjue appears to embody the essence of a siren. She continued, nevertheless, that possibility cannot be overlooked. For the past 6 months, I have been beset by strange and haunting dreams. In these visions, I find myself ensconced in a pitch-black cavern, with a colossal coffin suspended overhead, the walls around me inscribed with malevolent symbols. Upon that coffin lies an immense entity. Yet, each time I yearn to fathom the dream, I awaken. Chapter 44. The art of mountain moving and the principles of mutual existence. What is the cause of such a multitude of people? Have they all succumbed to slumber? Su Ping cast a fleeting glance at those ensconced within their sleeping bags, his tone imbued with indifference. Xue Liang regarded him with disapproval, remarking, sleeping is not devoid of peril. What if they awaken? To which Su Ping replied with a nonchalant shrug and a playful smile. And if they do awaken? What of it? We are engaged in nothing untoward. What precisely do you mean by untoward? Xue Liang inquired, momentarily taken aback, countering his assertion. Su Ping leaned closer to Xue Liang's ear, whispering. Chapter 45. Xue Liang's excessive zeal, a burden on the waist suddenly, before he could complete his thought. The sand beside him surged violently. In that instant, a multitude of desert army ants erupted forth, swiftly ascending his legs. Hiss! Startled, he kicked several times, crushing a dozen large ants, yet continued to speak dismissively. These ants are indeed sizable, but I refuse to believe they could consume a human. As he spoke, he delivered several more kicks, obliterating another swarm of desert army ants. Simultaneously, an unexpected occurrence transpired in the room. Chapter 46. The exclusive elixir for the working class. Miss Yang's transformation, talent attribute. Super fertility, red. Extraordinary physique, purple. Replication condition. Utilize the crow takes flight technique and eliminate it. Replication effect. 100% replication of 1, achieving the original's level. Oh my. This talent attribute is quite unique. Truly befitting of an ant queen, it is remarkably capable of reproduction. The replication condition is exceptionally absurd. What does crow takes flight even mean? Can an ordinary person even execute such a feat? Chapter 47. The revitalizing elixir. Miss Yang's restlessness. Xue Liang regarded the water bottle in Su Ping's hand with a perplexed expression. She simply could not comprehend what advantages could possibly stem from such an ordinary vessel. Is not water merely water? Could it be that Su Ping's water possesses some unique quality? Or perhaps Su Ping had taken a few sips intentionally, yearning to share an indirect kiss with her? This thought left Xue Liang with a sense of trepidation, especially with the eyes of others upon her. Such an overtly suggestive act felt rather improper. Chapter 48. The pursuit of the wolf pack. Su Ping and his companions convened once more. Comrade Su, your valor is truly commendable, and Li Man remarked, rising from the ground and offering a sincere thumbs up. Had it not been for your intervention, our camels would have fallen prey to the ants today. You have saved us all. Hu Wei holds you in high esteem. Your understanding of the desert is unparalleled. Indeed, Comrade Su, Professor Chen interjected, returning to the present moment and nodding in agreement. Were it not for your timely warning, we would have met our demise here. Chapter 49. Does he desire my essence? Brother Su, I was in error. Su Ping regarded Xue Liang with a sense of amusement, chuckling. Is your approach to flirtation so simplistic? Xue Liang's cheeks tinged with a faint blush. What flirtation? Her father is a magnate on Wall Street, and typically, it is others who pursue her. She has never taken the initiative to engage in flirtation. What capabilities does she possess? For the first time, she boldly provokes Su Ping and finds herself the subject of ridicule. This individual is undeniably exasperating. Xu Liang clenched her silver teeth and threatened, "Do you truly believe I will refrain from bestowing upon you that $1 million? Chapter 50. Miss Yang, are you indulging in a shower? Xu Liang observed the pitiable Xiao Yi and then cast a glance at Su Ping. She could resonate with Su Ping's plight. Without regulations, chaos reigns. Both Xiao Jian and the bespectacled one fell prey to their disregard for established conventions. In the unforgiving desert, one must implement rigorous measures, should anyone display leniency upon appeal. This team is destined for dissolution. With the availability of fresh water, the burdens of survival in the desert have markedly diminished, empowering Xiao Yi to confide in Su Ping. She approached Xiao Yi and gently elucidated. Chapter 51. The pretense has vanished. It is merely a matter of time. The effect is nothing short of astonishing. She beheld her skin in wonder, unable to resist the urge to gaze repeatedly. It was truly sublime. She felt as though she might fall in love with herself. That pearlescent liquid, possessing such exquisite beautifying qualities? No, this could not merely be characterized as beautification. It could be regarded as a rejuvenation of youth. If it is indeed so miraculous, could the curse that haunts me also be dispelled? Upon this contemplation, Xu Liang was engulfed by an exhilarating thrill and hastily dried herself, adorned her garments, and rushed out of the chamber. Chapter 52. The secrets of the ancients beneath the sacred well. There lay a flowing pool of water, encircled by rugged cliffs, upon which rested a stone door. A piece of unfamiliar animal hide was affixed to the door, sealing it securely. Old Su, are you certain there exists an ancient tomb within? Under ordinary circumstances, the ancients would refrain from erecting a tomb in this location to evade inundation during periods of high water. Old Hu inquired, his gaze fixed upon the stone door with a mixture of perplexity. Within lies a sanctuary. Su Ping observed the hidden area above and elaborated in the western regions. Chapter 53. Oh, how exhilarating. It resembles a live broadcast. This condition for replication is evidently contrived to compel the fatty to exert greater effort. After all, it is destiny. Who can say whether he might inadvertently rouse the deceased? Such a scenario is not entirely implausible. The fatty's fortune is indeed rather extraordinary. Old Su, may we remove this gas mask? The fatty, feeling discomfort, turned to inquire. Su Ping surveyed the surroundings and found no significant anomalies. If anything were to go amiss, it would merely be that the fatty, as the catalyst of a narrative, was profoundly unfortunate. Chapter 54. The queen is a siren, and the serpent god is indeed real. After a day and night of ventilation, all flames were extinguished, and the air, once thick with the fragrance of mandala flowers, gradually dissipated. Upon inspecting the altar, everyone discovered a stone slab on the ground behind it, adorned with large iron rings on all four sides, each weighing no less than 20 pounds. They struck all four massive iron rings, with each of the four individuals grasping one, channeling their strength to lift it upward. With a resounding thud, the iron ring at Su Ping's position was raised the moment he exerted his force, revealing a crevice in the heavy stone bricks. Chapter 55. Dragon Spine. Black gold ancient blade. Replicants. Old Su, is there a mechanism? Old Hu inquired with caution. No. Su Ping shook his head, replying, let us examine it first. Very well. Old Su, I was awaiting your words. The stout man rolled up his sleeves, exuberantly exclaiming, had you not opened the coffin, I must confess, I would not have dared to proceed. Ha ha. Await me, I shall light a candle. We must adhere to the protocol. The stout man eagerly retrieved a candle from his satchel and inquired. Chapter 56. Talent. Replicating life. Replicating life. Is this jade figurine merely a replica? Malada. Indeed, it is Malada. Su Ping's conviction deepened within him. Malada is a creation of the Zhang family, crafted from the fallen jade. To his astonishment, the Zhang family's influence reached this place 2 millennia ago. Reflecting upon the mural, where the diviner offered a red pill to Prince Gummo. It could very well be the corpse frog pill. That diviner might indeed be the Mulata standing before him. Generally speaking, Chapter 57, Fated Ones, transforming misfortune into fortune, perpetually fortunate. A spark of joy danced in Su Ping's eyes. Indeed, it was a triumph of replication. Since the advent of the Yin Huang bloodline, many of his instincts have become remarkably acute. The aura of the emperor has elevated his destiny to unparalleled heights. To replicate the Fated One is to replicate the essence of destiny itself. Furthermore, his fortune was extraordinarily remarkable. The Fated One ascended 2 tiers, evolving from white to blue. Fated One, blue blessed by the heavens, endowed with extraordinary fortune, often capable of transmuting misfortune into fortune, sometimes even unwittingly. Chapter 58, Heated Vice. Satiate hunger 3 days later. Both the camels and their human companions had enjoyed sufficient rest, replenishing their supply of fresh water, and resumed their journey. According to Enlightenment, beyond the ancient city of Xiye lies the true Black Desert, a desolate realm where Huda metes out punishment to the wicked. The ancient riverbed of the Peacock River concludes its course here. Only by following the path of the Zeta Dark River can one navigate the treacherous terrain without becoming lost. Even he had never dared to venture within. Were it not for the bonds of friendship, he would never have the audacity to enter, even under duress. On this day, the wind swept across the sky, a gentle yet persistent force. Chapter 59, A proper wash is essential for health. Attend to your matters. Su Ping took a sip of the horse milk wine he had borrowed from Enlightenment, responding with a nonchalant air. In recent days, perhaps due to the prior waste of water by Xiao Yi, she felt an overwhelming sense of guilt, thus persistently seeking conversations with Su Ping, hoping to foster a closer connection with him. Although Su Ping did not harbor any particular affection for her, he deemed it unnecessary to be overly critical of a young lady. One ought not to strike a smiling individual. He maintained a courteous demeanor. As time elapsed, they grew somewhat acquainted. Sensing Xiao Ye's hesitation, he inquired, Chapter 60, The corpse array of celestial officials. The great star kicking the dipper Professor Chen exhaled deeply, responding with resignation. Since Xiao Su has voiced his concerns, we should swiftly take our leave from this place. Although this site offers no protection, the preservation of human life far outweighs the need to safeguard these ancient relics. Moreover, this stone tomb is not our true objective. Our ultimate aim is to uncover the fabled ancient city of Jingjue. Confronted with this predicament, Professor Chen resolutely opted to prioritize human life. However, Old Hao, standing beside him, remained oblivious to this imperative. Chapter 61, The Unveiling of Personal Space, a resounding amplification of a millionfold. The immense Zongzi emitted a heart-wrenching roar, its head involuntarily rising. In the next instant, it fell silent. Its bones and sinews fractured as the creature's head, along with its thick and elongated vertebrae, was violently extracted from the body of the Black Fiend. Subsequently, the fearsome Zongzi collapsed heavily to the ground, releasing a pitch-black, putrid liquid that surged forth, faint outlines of its internal organs becoming visible. Xu Yang stared in astonishment at the unfolding spectacle, her heart racing at the sight of the Zongzi's severed head. Chapter 62, How Deep is Considered Deep. Ultimately, Su Ping's gaze fell upon the lifeless form of the black-haired zombie sprawled upon the ground. Item, black-haired zombie. Description, during the Western Jin Dynasty, a sorcerer pursued immortality within the ancient city of Jingjue, only to meet his demise here. He had received teachings from the Yin-Yang master of the Guemo kingdom and was interred in this location, accompanied by a coffin and arcane formations. In a desperate attempt to harness the deceased's Yin energy for his quest for eternal life, he tragically slaughtered a local family of 3. Nearly 2 millennia later, he was transformed into a black fiend. However, the barrenness of the desert and the lack of sufficient Yin energy obstructed his ascension. Value, 200. During the Wei and Jin dynasties, sorcerers were notably prevalent. Chapter 63, The Passionate Kiss of Xu Yang. Initially, Xiao Yi found herself in a dire state. suffering from dehydration and weakened by a profound desiccation. However, on this occasion, Xiao Jian emerged as the invaluable hero. With his life-giving water supply, Xiao Yi, though still parched, managed to resist the clutches of dehydration. Yet, there was another factor at play. The discovery of Zhala Mountain was originally attributed to Xiao Yi, but her condition of dehydration led her to experience vivid illusions. Had she guided the others in such a state? Who could determine whether their perceptions were mere figments of imagination? It was even widely believed that prior to entering the ancient city of Jingjue, individuals would succumb to a trance, perceiving nothing but ephemeral mirages. Chapter 64. The fangs of the black snake have crumbled, rendered ineffectual upon the sighting of Mount Zalama. A palpable excitement surged through the group as they hastily began to gather their possessions. Only, overwhelmed by the moment, fell to his knees with a thud, neglecting even to unfurl his blanket. He clasped his hands over his chest and offered a fervent prayer towards the majestic Mount Zalama. The journey towards the mountain commenced in the evening, yet they did not reach its base until the late hours of the night. The imposing, enigmatic mountain seemed to absorb light with an extraordinary intensity. The moonlight cascaded upon it as if consumed, reflecting nothing and shrouding the surroundings in an eerie and foreboding atmosphere. One by one, they led their camels along the shadowy path that wound towards Zalama. Chapter 65. The Arrival of the Black Eyes. The ascendancy of old Hu Su Ping advanced with purpose and, with a resonant thud, crushed the head of the black serpent beneath his foot. He scrutinized the injuries of the elderly Hao. Though the moment was fleeting, it was apparent that hope had all but vanished. The old man's deep, cavernous eyes seemed to communicate that this predicament was anything but ordinary. Typically, when one approaches death, their pupils momentarily constrict before swiftly dilating. However, they invariably stabilize at a certain juncture. Yet, the old man's dilated, obsidian pupils consumed his entire eyeball. It was shrouded in a foreboding darkness, evoking an indescribable sensation. Chapter 66. Slaying the Dragon, Subduing the Dragon. Taming the dragon behind the obsidian stone tower lay an elevated expanse, where the assembly stood, gazing down upon the venerable city of Jingjue. Above the tower, a sphere reminiscent of an eye hovered. From their elevated position, the Black Tower and the Zhajalama Valley formed a linear alignment. What is this? Old Hu, struck with awe at the sight, could not refrain from exclaiming, Old Su. The feng shui of this locale is simply unparalleled. The Queen of Jingjue must assuredly be a grand master of the esoteric arts of yin and yang feng shui. The Zhajalama mountain range resembles an oasis amid a vast desert. Chapter 67. She is watching us. Old Hu beheld the virtual realm representing the serpent god and inquired in astonishment, Old Su, do you suppose ancient deities can also meet their demise? Humans encounter the duality of life and death, while trees undergo cycles of withering and flourishing. Even the veins of dragons experience phases of existence and dissolution. Why, then, would deities be exempt from the inevitability of death? Supin counter. This inquiry had also lingered in his mind. Traditionally, ancient gods are thought to possess boundless lifespans. What force could have vanquished the serpent god remains unaddressed in the original tale. However, since mastering the esoteric arts of Banshan, he has come to comprehend. Chapter 68. The Earth's Dragon Shi, the serpent mother begets life after a prolonged interval. The group finally breathed a sigh of relief upon observing the absence of further disturbances. Professor Chen questioned the origins of the portly man's jade pendant, and this time, the man was candid. With profound regret, Professor Chen lamented, "This jade pendant is a rare artifact. It ought to be surrendered to the state." Upon hearing this, the corpulent man exclaimed, "What absurdity is this? Surrender it to the state? So, in addition to receiving no rewards, I must also relinquish my jade pendant?" Resolutely, he resolved to take matters into his own hands and grasped the jade eye firmly. With a resounding crash. Chapter 69. The Art of Snake Manipulation. Tripling the space at hand. Utilize a flashbang. At a critical juncture, Xu Liyang exhibited remarkable poise, calling out before producing a flashbang and hurling it forward. With a blinding explosion of light, the temple was enveloped in a resplendent white glow, rendering everything momentarily invisible. The black snakes, accustomed to the shadows, instinctively retreated into their lairs, startled by the intense illumination. Now that you have arrived, do you believe you can escape? Su Ping raised an eyebrow, swiftly advancing to the 6th level. Chapter 70. Immortality, 3,000 years of lifespan collect. Crouching down, Su Ping gently brushed his hand over the remains of the black snakes, causing them to disappear without a trace, seamlessly entering his personal domain. Each of these black snake carcasses possessed a value of 1 point, with an excess of 100. Their cumulative worth totaled a remarkable 100, a substantial sum indeed. Collecting it into the portable space renders the act of sacrifice more efficient and expeditious. The only limitation resides in the requirement of closeness to the object for its incorporation into the portable realm. Any considerable distance renders this feat unattainable. Chapter 71. One for the palace, one for me. Cluck cluck. In an instant, Su Ping grasped the underlying motive for the Zhang family's venture into the western regions to conspire against the Queen of Jingjue. It appears there exists a profound animosity. However, it is apparent that the Queen of Jingjue remains oblivious to the true significance of the so-called Jade of Longevity within the kingdom of the West Mother. She erroneously assumes it to be Hatian Jade, while the authentic Jade of Longevity is, in fact, the meteorite jade hailing from the kingdom of the West Mother. Despite this misappropriation, the intrinsic worth of this throne is undeniably immense. 1,000. This is indisputably a national treasure of the highest order. In addition to the throne, there are other golden artifacts. Chapter 72. Heart of the Lake, Underground River, the Empress's treasure without a moment's hesitation. The crowd surged forward to partake of the water. The rotund gentleman swallowed with difficulty and exclaimed, "Old Su, it appears I too can perceive the sound of flowing water. I can no longer restrain myself. I wish to drink as well. Will you join me?" "I shall not." "Then I shall disregard your reluctance." Unable to contain his eagerness any longer, the portly fellow rolled up his sleeves and rushed ahead. Hud, hud, hud. He eagerly gulped down mouthfuls of water until it spilled from his mouth. Only then did he bring his indulgence to a halt. Chapter 73. What treasure? "Merely your illusion, Old Su. I shall accompany you," declared the stout man, resolutely brandishing his AK-47. "With both of us together, we can safeguard one another. Begone. Your presence will only incite disorder," retorted Old Hu, casting a scornful glance at the stout man, who ought to be aware of his own limitations. Disregarding the formidable fat lord, with a firearm in hand, "The world is mine," proclaimed the stout man, waving his AK-47 with an air of invulnerability. However, in a moment of misfortune, he lost his footing and plunged headfirst into the inky depths of the river. Chapter 74. Wealth from all directions. Fortune, fortune, fortune. Share with all who see. Su Ping retrieved a rope from his backpack, secured it to a nearby stone pillar, and descended into the treasure pit, selecting some of the most valuable artifacts from the netherworld to stow away in his portable space. He then embarked on a fervent act of sacrifice, offering all and sincerely invoking the vast void to open the mystical portals of the celestial realm. As he recited the incantation, heaps of gold and silver jewels vanished from sight. Item: gold coins, eligible for sacrifice. Description: the wealth amassed by the Queen of Jingjue from plundering the various nations of the western regions, as well as treasures from Solomon and the kingdom of the West Mother, culminated in her riches as the Queen of Jingjue. Chapter 75. The Sovereign of Humanity's 9-dragon emblem, the 5-clawed golden dragon tattoo, within the sepulchre of Prince Gumo. It was revealed that the Yin-Yang master belonged to the illustrious Zhang lineage, and the poison administered to the queen was none other than the corpse toad pill. However, in truth, the queen was neither deceived, nor did she partake of the corpse toad pill. It is entirely plausible that the Queen of Jingjue had been cognizant of all events from the outset, orchestrating the poisoning of her subordinates, which culminated in the emergence of a blood corpse. If the Queen of Jingjue did not succumb to poisoning, what then led to her demise? Or is it conceivable that she never truly perished at all? Su Ping inclines towards the latter hypothesis, firmly believing that she is either alive or has not entirely succumbed to death. Chapter 76. The Enigmatic Cavern, Celestial Tree, and Corpse Flower. Old Su here donned his coat. It is rather brisk here. Do take care not to catch a chill, Old Hu remarked as he removed his coat and presented it to Su Ping. Catch a chill? Old Hu, you greatly underestimate Old Su. Just behold Su Ping's physique, as solid as granite. How could he possibly catch a chill? The stout man clicked his tongue, enviously admiring the robust muscles that graced Su Ping's form. He absent-mindedly caressed his own belly, only to recognize the absence of softness there. It struck him that after more than half a month in the arid desert, weary, famished, and parched, he had significantly diminished in stature. Chapter 77. The blooming flowers with his Yan Huang bloodline attaining a blue quality, even the enigmatic cave posed no peril to him, let alone the corpse flower. In this life, he harbors no regrets about entering Huaxia. In the next, he aspires to be a gardener once more. The Yan Huang bloodline is indeed extraordinary. Its profound legacy instills within him a deep sense of security. There lies a path. Let us ascend and explore. Perhaps the coffin of the Queen of Jingjue awaits above. The corpulent man distanced himself, collapsing onto the ground, gesturing towards the nearby steps and exclaiming. His words acted as a clarion call to those adrift in contemplation. Chapter 78. Let us marry and bear 10 or 8 chubby children. The corpse flower unfurled its expansive verdant leaves, revealing a crimson stamen within, its filaments drifting like ethereal veins in the air, while a faint sound reminiscent of a lamenting spirit reverberated through the atmosphere. The leaves and stamen of the corpse flower gleamed with a crystalline clarity, resembling an ineffable masterpiece, deep and enchanting, as though it harbored a galaxy twinkling with starlight within. Wait here. I shall investigate this matter. Su Ping cautioned the group, his expression grave. Remember, do not act recklessly. Everything here is extraordinarily perilous. His gaze then rested upon Xiao Yi. Chapter 79. The flower of the other shore, the queen emerges. Ever since her gaze fell upon the Kunlun divine tree, Xu Yang was enveloped by an ineffable sensation. It appeared that her previous suspicions had materialized into reality. This entire scenario had been orchestrated by the Queen of Jingjue, guiding her to this fateful encounter. The rationale behind it remained shrouded in mystery, yet she was acutely aware that her journey here would render her incapable of retreat. Do you recall my words? Only you hold the opportunity to depart unscathed. Thus you shall not face harm, let alone meet your demise. Su Ping cast a contemplative glance at the unfolding scene before him. Chapter 80. A glimpse of the light. Do not move. Su Ping firmly clasped Xu Yang's hand. Draw her nearer. Xu Yang turned her gaze, fixating intently on Su Ping, inquiring, Old Su, what are you intending? At that moment, Su Ping perceived a striking transformation within her eyes, reminiscent of old Hao's before his untimely departure. Her pupils had metamorphosed into an abyssal black, resembling 2 unfathomable voids. Her countenance became vacant, akin to a lifeless husk, her body rigid. Do you wish to slumber alongside me? Xu Yang urged Su Ping, lifting her foot, poised to. Chapter 81. Guardian of the Jingjue nation mortal. Having beheld that which ought not to be witnessed, your destiny is irrevocably sealed. The Queen of the Abyss wore an expression of detachment as she wove intricate gestures with her hands, intoning a complex and arcane incantation. O God of black scales, O sovereign of serpents, heed my call, transcend the void, and hasten to this realm. In due course, a tumultuous sound reverberated as 3 immense black-scaled serpents emerged from the depths of the enigmatic cavern, their heads adorned with bulging flesh that resembled oversized orbs. Arched in their stance, they flicked their crimson tongues, their eyes shimmering with a malevolent gleam. Hiss! One of the black-scaled serpents advanced with purpose. Chapter 82. The Queen's Fury. Preparing for a grand move, the guardian of the ancient city of the Abyss, adorned with a human head upon a serpentine body, wielded a shield in one hand and a dark sword in the other, epitomizing a perfect balance of offense and defense. Epan discerning Su Ping. It hefted its formidable sword and swung it in his direction. The Queen of the Abyss held unwavering confidence in her guardian. With a mere gesture, the distant figure of Xiuliang began to move uncontrollably towards her. I have borrowed your corporeal form. This was solely an exhibition of bloodline supremacy. Xiuliang, a candidate for divinity, bore a quality that was merely blue. The relentless cycle of predation, wherein the powerful devour the weak, persisted. Chapter 83. Relentlessly testing the Queen's limits the capacity to manipulate space without recourse to incantation, to summon and release at will. How could such a phenomenon exist? Even in antiquity, such talents were exceedingly rare, often dependent upon exquisite artifacts. These artifacts harbored their own realms, necessitating incantations to retrieve items contained within. Her ability to directly command the power of the serpent god was unparalleled in the ancient demonic domains. Yet, the opponent's abilities appeared to share a lineage with her own, and remarkably, their prowess eclipsed hers. How could this mere mortal wield such extraordinary might? Chapter 84. A Century's Pact. Blood for the Queen of the Abyss, found herself momentarily taken aback. It became increasingly evident that this individual had come specifically for her. No wonder so many of her formidable abilities had been thwarted. He had been meticulously prepared from the very beginning. Yet, how could she possibly acquiesce to such a demand? Would that not entail a relinquishment of both her cherished assets and her loyal forces? Initially, her sole desire was to reclaim her corporeal form. However, it now appeared that she would also have to gamble with her very soul. This individual had executed his strategy with remarkable precision. Do you genuinely believe that such a proposition is attainable? I possess. Chapter 85. Su Ping, the master. Conditions for duplication met. Initiating copy. It has commenced. At long last, I am poised to replicate the Queen's intrinsic abilities. The decision rests between the demon eye and sorcery. Which shall I choose? Successfully copied innate ability. Demon eye, current level, white, the demon eye. Su Ping's eyes glimmered with exhilaration. This demon eye is the seventh eye referenced in Buddhist scriptures, also known as the boundless demon eye. In that ephemeral moment, he grasped the profound significance of the demon eye. Chapter 86. The serpent god is angered. The mountains shall crumble. After reprimanding the Queen of the Abyss, Su Ping redirected his focus to the now dormant Xiuliang nestled in his embrace. Liberated from the Queen's grasp, began to awaken from her slumber. Upon recognizing Su Ping, she instantly enveloped him in her arms. Old Su, I feared I would never lay eyes on you again in this lifetime. Everything is well now. Su Ping tenderly patted her back, offering solace. She clung to him with such fervor that it compressed the cushion beneath them. Xiuliang surveyed her surroundings, the Kunlun sacred tree and the corpse flower tuber. Chapter 87. A husband with 2 wives, marrying on the spot? May I? Xiuliang questioned herself with a hint of uncertainty. In that fleeting moment, she felt the immense burden of 6 lives resting upon her shoulders. A misstep could plunge them all into despair. This magnetic mountain might very well serve as their tomb. Yet, upon witnessing the steadfast trust reflected in Su Ping's gaze, she resolutely nodded, closed her eyes, and signaled, "Let us conceal ourselves here." Very well. Once Xiuliang reached her decision, Su Ping promptly guided Xiaoye inside without a moment's hesitation. Your faith in me is truly extraordinary. Chapter 88. Candlelight Divination. The ancient oracle, there is no necessity for that. Su Ping's gaze traversed the 2 women. Xiuliang possessed a voluptuous form, her figure strikingly exquisite. Xiaoye resembled a diminutive parakeet, delicate and slender. Both were undeniably captivating. However, in light of their surroundings and the tribulations they had faced, they appeared somewhat disheveled. Were there genuinely no avenues of escape, he might contemplate it. Yet for the present, Su Ping advanced, grasped the water bottles belonging to the trio, and shook them. Clatter. Chapter 89. The Ancient Oracle, the Final Prophecy. Old Su, does this imply there exists an exit here? We must expedite our search, exclaimed the corpulent man, his voice brimming with excitement, prompting everyone to commence their exploration within the cavern. However, Su Ping remained composed. for he recognized that the ultimate direction could only be unveiled by the oracle. The moment had not yet arrived. Meanwhile, Xu Yang's attention was captivated by a stone chest situated at the heart of the cave. The chest, modest in dimensions, approximately 1 meter square, was embellished with enigmatic patterns and intricate designs. "Old Su, come here and take a look," Xu urged. Chapter 90. Enhancing the Spatial Storage. Observing the exquisite queen reflecting his own perceptions, Su Ping felt an increasing sense of certainty that he had not succumbed to an illusion. Within the small chest resided 4 images, together weaving a haunting prophecy. The first image portrayed a colossal eye looming ominously above the group, akin to a natural catastrophe, gazing down upon the 6 individuals and a demon. The second image depicted the 6 uniting to conquer the demon, only to subsequently turn against each other, resulting in a solitary survivor who managed to escape, distinguished by a singular trait: 4 eyes. The third image revealed the 6 turning upon one another. Chapter 91. The Utter Annihilation of the Exquisite Kingdom. A Flight to Freedom. The exquisite queen exhibited unparalleled cruelty, subjugating nations until a once-in-a-millennium sandstorm consumed the entire tribe. Ultimately, the 6 ventured into this realm, the abode of the oracle's descendants. When that rare sandstorm descended once more, the oracle would lead her progeny toward salvation. Upon their departure, the sandstorm would irrevocably engulf this land, preserving it until the end of time. It is worth noting that the ancient oracles indeed possessed extraordinary foresight. Their prophecies were nearly all fulfilled. Chapter 92. The transformation of Old Hu, the plump man, into a laborer, the desert relic, the white camel. A formidable whirlwind erupted from the depths of the mysterious pit, as though it had unleashed a cataclysm upon the world. The golden sands spiraled toward the pit, causing the magnetic mountain to crumble, ceaselessly plummeting into the abyss. The fearsome sandstorm ascended, reaching the heavens and suffusing the sea of clouds with a golden hue. The ancient city, both magnificent and desolate, appeared as if it stood at the brink of the world, enveloped in yellow sand, including the dark magnetic mountain. Despite the overwhelming terror of this sandstorm, the most fearsome in millennia, it remained contained within the vicinity of the ancient city, refraining from spreading further. Chapter 93. Discovering Water Sources. Departing the desert, others fixed their gaze upon the white camel, and the praying Amlaman was overwhelmed with tears. "Thank the heavens, thank the heavens. Everyone, follow the white camel. Huda has consented to embrace this forsaken land." The white camel, a rare breed with a single hump, was indeed a remarkable sight. This solitary humped white camel, a wild variant, is exceedingly uncommon and rarely encountered. Nevertheless, should one come across such a creature in the desert, it signifies the presence of conditions favorable to its survival. Food and water are paramount. Chapter 94. Epilogue. Returning to the capital. Gathering flowers for Yingzi upon their arrival at the provincial capital, they embarked on the train back to the metropolis. Throughout the journey, Su Ping leisurely contemplated the treasures amassed during this expedition. Among these was an ancient black gold knife, 1 in number, a blue-grade Yanhuang bloodline, and additionally, a blue artifact capable of replicating life. Furthermore, 3 dedicated individuals accompanied them, among whom Xu Yang had attained an extraordinary physique, denoted by its purple hue. They also possessed a black shield belonging to the serpent-headed guardian, which conferred immense strength and significant enhancements. Lastly, they had secured a portable space measuring 100 cubic meters. Chapter 95. Brother Su, may I find refuge here tonight? Yingzi inquired, her gaze fixed upon Su Ping, her eyes shimmering with admiration. Once a wild girl hailing from a humble village, her journey with Su Ping to the general's tomb and back to the heart of Beijing unveiled a world far grander than she had ever known. This newfound exposure profoundly altered the trajectory of her previously mundane existence. In the course of the past month, she sporadically transported antiques and funerary artifacts from her village to the bustling markets of Beijing, amassing a fortune exceeding 200,000 to 300,000. This considerable wealth wrought monumental changes within her village. Nearly all the homes underwent renovations, and an array of modern appliances was acquired, significantly enhancing the village's stature. Chapter 96. A profound revelation, a pair of jade arms, lips tinted with the faintest shade of crimson. Falling petals embody emotion. Today, I collect blossoms. Your destined talent has been awakened. Your wilderness survival skills have attained the highest level. Your destined talent has been awakened. Ingzi has emerged, acquiring exceptional business acumen. Su Ping arose and took a sip of water. Upon his return, he realized that he had activated his destined talent. Not only had his wilderness survival reached its pinnacle, but Ingzi had also acquired remarkable business acumen. Such phenomena exist. Chapter 97. Auction, Scheming. The 9 gates tremble 5 days later. Virginia delivered the momentous news. It had come to fruition. The gold coin would be auctioned at the New Moon Hotel, precisely on the 15th of this month, which was merely 3 days away. As the seller of the auction item, the formidable Virginia was also invited to partake in the event. It was indeed time to encounter those individuals. Su Ping contemplated quietly. Regardless of the 9 gates or the Wang family, they remained an incessant source of concern for him. Although he had emerged from the ancient city of Jingjua, the pertinent information had been classified as confidential. Chapter 98. The Awakening of the 3 Bloodlines. Thud, thud, thud. Su Ping retrieved a flask of snake gall liquor, taking several sips to assess its effects. The infusion of snake gall improves with time. While the black snake is highly venomous, the gall itself is devoid of toxins. However, one must exercise caution when infusing snake gall, as it contains various biological toxins, such as bile toxins. Through meticulous preparation, these toxins gradually decompose, ultimately rendering the concoction innocuous. After a few swallows, Su Ping felt a fiery warmth surging through his body, from his throat to his lower abdomen, as if he were ablaze upon scorching coals. Chapter 99. The Arrival of the Phantom Demon. Visitor from Qin Chuan. The greater the abilities of his loyal subordinates, the more substantial the advantages brought to him by the portly fellow and old Hu. With his own strength on the ascent, it was untenable for his subordinates to lack capability. The foundation of the lower tier dictates the structure of the upper tier. Were he to be the sole bearer of strength, he would be encumbered with all responsibilities, inevitably leading to his exhaustion. As for Ingzi, endowed with both wisdom and discernment, it was imperative to possess adequate power to uphold order. Meanwhile, in Shaanxi, in the ancient county of Gulan, relentless drought had rendered existence increasingly arduous. Chapter 100. The Land of the 3 Qins. Countless treasures through a blend of persuasion and subterfuge. The two successfully guided the individual to a hot pot restaurant, where, after a series of exchanges, the individual confessed with remarkable openness. This person was named Li Chunlai, originating from Gulan County in Shaanxi. He had journeyed to Beiping to sell a pair of embroidered shoes that were several centuries old. The provenance of these shoes was also revealed. In Gulan County, the unyielding drought had summoned the drought demon, leading to the emergence of funerary items from coffins. Ma Daden and others, lured by the treasures within these coffins, received a pair of embroidered shoes as a form of inducement. That very night, Ma Daden and his companions were struck down by a divine thunderbolt. Old Hu and the stout fellow were also affected.